What's up, guys? This is Z.
This is Hasban. You probably haven't heard me on here before, but I'm here now.
Welcome.
Yeah, he's our guest tonight.
He's also a competing fact checker. Let's not forget.
I'm pretty sure I'm a better fact checker.
I don't know what the hell's going on.
He's applying for Shaz's job.
Cool. Let me just be comedy.
And this is Ali here with my bro Ham.
What up? This is Shaz.
Did you say you're gonna be not a fact checker? You're gonna just do comedy?
I'm gonna do comedy today. I'm on jokes.com.
He created his own job listing.
Cut his mic off, please.
So what happened, guys? I thought that Trump had no chance.
Trump never had a chance.
Trump wasn't supposed to have a chance.
And yet else he's here.
Like, for me, the most shocking thing was not him winning, but realizing the bubble that we all live in.
Yeah, that's what I've been obsessed about. I mean, right now we're going to talk about all these things that we agree about 95%. We're not talking to anybody that's different.
Right, and then popular culture and everything around the election completely, put a curtain on the fact that Trump had a chance. It looked like he was going to get blown out.
I mean, mathematically, did it look like he had a chance at all? It was like, the odds were, they were not against him, but towards the last month, everything that just came out, you would assume that there's nowhere in hell this dude will
Certainly. Every late night show you would watch, everyone's making fun of Donald Trump.
Trumping the Trump.
You are in a bubble because even ABC, it's ABC Chicago. This is what we're in line with. So that's the kind of news they show you. You don't know what's happening in ABC, Wyoming or whatever.
Yeah, and popular culture, that article I was reading that you forwarded was awesome about that.
From crack.com?
Yes. And that article, it was talking about popular culture, and everything in the city is based around the city. You don't get to see what's going on outside in the country.
So it's city versus country when it comes down to it.
Yes.
Sounds like.
What are you guys saying? Do you think that's what it came down to?
I just think it's really weird. I've been trying to figure it out. The last 4 days, I just keep obsessing what happened, why it happened. I think that everybody wants to talk about, the people that voted for Trump, but we're not talking about how much everyone did not like Hillary Clinton. She was just forced on us, and I just felt like we didn't want her, and this is what you get.
You can see from the WikiLeaks that she was indeed forced on us.
Yeah.
Forced on us by herself.
We got raped.
So I've been thinking about the same thing. I think all of us, how did this happen? So you're trying to make something that doesn't make any sense. So what I was thinking was our everything that we do in the podcast is about from a cosmic aspect. So I was trying to see how we could use that and then turn to figure out the election that way. So for me, at least, in order to make any sense of it or a little sense of it, I have to look at it from a cosmic perspective. Because you just go if you're in a different advanced civilization further away, you're just looking at petty humans, you're not just fighting over for this land or ego and pride, but there's so much of nothingness out there. We're fighting for the dumbest things. So I think once I look at it that way and then start breaking piece by piece, and you kind of unravel the structure of why and maybe how we got here.
Right.
So I don't know,
but I think that cosmic perspective is really important, right? But I also think that it's hard for people like the ones that voted for Trump to look at it from that point of view, because it looks like those are struggling people that kind of voted for Trump.
Right.
So when they have problems daily, they're not gonna look at it from a cosmic perspective.
So I thought about that too, right? So everything. In our podcast, at least we try to inspire curiosity amongst us and also to our listeners, right? So looking at through a cosmic perspective, you see a little rock in a little nowhere, then you see just zoom into the United States, then you see this big, country that has 350 million people spread all over this country, and then when you start looking at when the election will be done, it's not done now, but you can look at a map that shows the counties that voted rather than states to get more detail to kind of see the areas that Trump won versus where he lost. And what you kind of get into is these rural areas that are just have populations of tens and thousands.
Yeah.
And when you get into that, and they're born into their own culture or their own religion and ideologies, right? So like the biggest problem there in our planet right now is everyone's getting robbed of the curiosity. So these guys are getting, when they're growing up, their curiosity is also being robbed, so that the curiosity, the fire to go burn, the burning thing to go look for the truth, or such that they don't do any of that. So they accept their reality for what it is, and now they also live in a bubble because this is their perfect world, right? So like, I was really thinking about it because like he did win, and he won in a legit way. He is the people chose him. So it's not like he won unfair and square. There's literally, half of us that think the other way.
Yeah, it's about just half. She won the popular vote, but it's basically just half of us.
Yeah.
So just think about how big that bubble is for them and for us. Half of people, know. But if you talk to anybody here, they're all against Trump.
Right. And there's just as much as us on the other side. There are
it's like a parallel universe that we know nothing about.
Yeah. And this is where then I start thinking into like, are we in a bubble? How maybe we're wrong and they're right. So like, then that whole I think we touched on it before. How do you really find out the truth, right? If there's
it's all perspective.
Yeah, I think that bubble's got to be subjective.
But yeah, not only perspective, but like it obviously will be relative, right? But if the person that searches seeks out the truth is always the one that's curious more. If you're not curious, you're going to stop at a certain point and you're going to step for what it is. You're not going to push forward, continuing to find what the better,
That's the problem, though. They have their own truth. Their parents are telling them or whatever. And it's almost like religion. You're handed this down, you believe it, and then, same thing. You look at your mother and your father, your first role models,
right.
And whatever they tell you, you listen.
Yeah, and all the racism or ideologies that you might, get.
So the truth that you speak of, they might not have that because, they don't want to even go and seek it because they think they already have the truth,
Exactly. So that's
curiosity.
Exactly. So I start thinking from other side, just the way I'm arguing that maybe I know the truth. How do I know that they don't, they obviously feel the same exact way as I do. So like, but one of us is wrong, then how do you figure that out?
The first step is everyone has to be open-minded.
Right.
Because on this crack.com website, one of the people are talking about how they were in the country and they used to think a certain way, and it wasn't until he started living in the city where he started bringing all these new other ideas in, which is actually made him vote for Hillary instead of like his family that voted for Trump.
Right. So he came into the city of Chicago, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So, yeah. And then so when he came here, then obviously he was faced with a lot of diverse cultures and ideas. And then for him, I guess you can say that, he didn't resort back to his original ideas. He was more open-minded and adapted to a situation. So that's how you start telling or finding out which side is probably right. Because, like if we, like right now, we can have an open conversation. As soon as you get an opposing side, then it gets a lot harder to do. So the whole idea that Sam Harris talks, like absent your personal ego and then, look at the things and decide objectively, you know what I mean?
This scenario actually does show that there's there are separate bubbles with their own ideologies. So if he's coming from somewhere in the, in the country, whatever, he leaves that bubble, comes into the city bubble, and that bubble is just full of different ideas, and the ideas are what different from the bubbles.
Right.
So he comes here and, but he could have also come here and kept a closed mind, wasn't open to learning anything new. And he's like, no, this is what my parents taught me, and that's that. And I have friends like that, and so that's why being open-minded is so important.
You guys talk about religion on this podcast a lot, and basically that topic is for someone, let's say, who's atheist would go to someone that's religious. I can't believe they believe like that. So now we're not talking about religion. We're just talking about other people who have a different idea about life. And for whatever reason, that this has led to Trump being in power. It's crazy. I still can't really understand the other side. I can kind of get it, but to vote for him, to have such a majority, to have him be in the position that he's in, I don't know. There's some kind of strange feeling in the air.
I mean, is it possible that Trump just campaigned better? You know, for instance, did you hear about in Michigan? So there's, I think, the Ford plant or some car plant is in.
There's a car. There's a
Michigan,
lot of car
right?
plants.
Yeah.
there.
So he goes up to one of those places and he goes to the CEO. He's like, if you move this plant to Mexico, I'm gonna put like a 35% tariff when the car comes back into the USA, and no one's gonna want to buy it because it's so expensive. And nobody's ever talked to, like, say, CEOs and stuff like that ever before, like that. Like, not a politician. You know, because you want their money, but he went completely against them.
He went mobster.
And I feel like, and that's how he won Michigan. And I'm wondering if he did something similar in all these states where he really just got that support.
Well, when you put it that way, I can kind of like vouch for him. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it
You
is,
know what I
right?
mean? Like, that point is cool. This is not about Trump right now, but
Yeah.
the fact that he can do that he can act like that,
Yeah.
he
not
wants
like
to keep
the
all
norm.
the jobs in the U.S.
Yeah, and
That's
made
a
in
big
America.
thing. Yep.
Um,
America great again.
so like tying to that, like yesterday on the what's that Stephen Colbert show, the Late Show.
Yeah, the Late Show with
Yeah.
Stephen Colbert.
Yeah. So Neil deGrasse Tyson was on yesterday, and then he asked him to kind of weigh in, and then what he said is, you can't be mad at Trump. Trump is who he is. He has. If you want to fix this, you can't just bash him. You have to educate the other crowd, because that's what it comes down to. When he said that, I was thinking of it. But before that, he also said, like, you know, our job, as you know, should be not make America great again, but make America smart again. And I thought that was pretty cool, because then I was just thinking that it all came down to information at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Whoever, you know, we have this information, so we think this way. They have that information, so they think that way. So it all comes down to information. The more you know, the more you pursue the facts and actual data and stats and science, you're gonna come to. Hopefully, I'm hoping that this decision that we have, or the way we think.
You make a good point, but I think that we're like avoiding the issue because we really don't understand. This is mostly about economic factors and people not having jobs. It's not. I mean, yeah, lack of education and stuff might play a part, but there's people out there who don't got jobs and are like, "Ah, shit, I don't like the way this is going. You know, fuck Obama." And now they got Trump, and they see an opportunity to improve their current situation. You know, food, shelter, housing. We're talking about those basic things, and we're not talking about just. I think so. I mean, you guys can weigh in.
And that's a very important point, because
Uneducated people voted for him. These guys are not people who are going to make $50,000 a year, probably,
Right.
unless they're doing a trade or manufacturing job, and that's going away.
Right, and absolutely, that's a good point, because we kind of, especially in the media, think that the vote for Donald Trump is just about racism, or it's about, like, oh, he's a misogynist and all that. But it is a really, I mean, yeah, the guy's an asshole, but there's a lot of depth to the things that he's
and like, no one wakes up every day is like, I can't wait to be more racist today.
Yeah.
They might think, you know, I can't wait to be, I can't wait to have a job, I can't wait to have more money, but no one goes, oh, I can't wait to say shit to like other people today.
You know how you said that they're uneducated and they don't have jobs, so everything's kind of feeding into and they're buying into it. So would a smart person do the same thing? You know, like, would they go that low and drop their principles and values to aid to a person that, you know, is this way, like, you know, seek his help? I feel like smarter people, some might, but some might, you know, still have some value and principles that, you know, the way this guy is, I don't need to go through him. I can manage it a different route.
Right, or a smart...
Uneducated people will make more desperate and
Sure.
uneducated guesses or decisions.
Yeah, or a smart person might even prioritize, like, what matters to them more, because it's not going to be the same for everyone.
Right.
Not everyone will have racism as the number one thing that they worry
Religion.
about, or religion. It might be the economy,
Climate
and
change.
It could be anything.
Probably the economy, though. I think that is the main thing. Like, we're kind of dancing around it, but the answer is the economy.
Another thing, though, that really, really hurt Hillary was herself in those emails that released, you know, that whole thing that was going on 11 days before, and the WikiLeaks, and how, you know, it was really just rigged against Bernie Sanders. So many people that were Bernie Sanders supporters hated her for that, and actually ended up going from Democrat to Republican. That was a huge hit, too.
Yeah. You laid out a lot of facts.
Yeah.
That's just fact after fact. I was like, oh, crap.
And I stared at Hasban the whole time.
Well, actually, I can't check facts because the password lock is on again.
Oh, again.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
Very good.
Oh, shit.
Um,
I can write it down for you on this piece of paper.
All right, but we got to keep podcasting. The show can't stop.
Keep going.
Too much commentating.
You got to write and talk at the same time.
so like the day the night that election was happening, I was following it. It was one of the most intense things I've been through.
It's like I'm watching like the Bulls and Cavs in the conference finals or something like that.
But your life depends on
this. Yeah, exactly. People's lives actually depend on it.
Yeah.
It was like watching a match of Hunger Games.
Yeah, as soon as like the first poll closed, the votes start coming in, and Trump had like few states, and and then Hillary has one. Like, just too early. It's too early.
Yeah,
they're like half, like a quarter way in Florida, it's like neck and neck, and they're just like few thousand votes away from one another.
I was glued. That was like
and
the
then
best.
85% are in, and like holy crap. She
Dude,
might
Hillary
lose this,
fucking
but
sucks.
no, still too early.
Yeah, I kept saying that.
Only 85%. How much is 15% of the U.S. population?
It's like, all right, Trump's doing well. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
She's going to recover later. She's going to come back. Of course, it's no big deal.
Michigan.
Yeah, she's,
Yeah.
Michigan goes overwhelmingly
I just
red.
love how it becomes a game, though. It's just like a big math game, and like everyone's doing their math, and like, oh yeah, if she wins this or this, you know what I mean?
I wonder how much the price of an ad is. Is it just like the Super Bowl? Everyone's tuning in,
But
know?
then
I thought they were
even
good.
that also makes me think like how needlessly complex a system is, right? Most countries just look at popular vote and boom, you're done. But we've
Really?
got the whole electoral college, yeah.
wouldn't Al Gore have won that first one
Dude.
against George Bush?
Well, that's
Dude, can
twice
you-
now in 12 years.
Yo,
or
but
16
think
years.
about this. Al Gore got what, like 500,000 or something extra
Oh
votes.
my
Right.
God.
That's 500,000, and
Yeah, he
he
got
wasn't
robbed.
president.
He got robbed.
Good Lord.
Man, they were saying
System is screwed.
it's been screwed. Or what they
Thank
were
you.
saying was
He's doing it.
Hillary, compared to the popular vote, she got
200,000.
6 million less than Obama.
Yeah,
So
because
that's how many people Democratic
my
didn't
God.
vote. And if that, so maybe you can say, we can be crazy and say maybe half went to Trump, or 1/3
That
of it
is
went to
pretty
Trump,
crazy.
and then then the majority of them are Bernie Sanders voters that probably held out or went Libertarian.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't that many votes for Libertarian. That doesn't add up to.
I
6
think that
million,
Nate Silver said that it did affect the election in those states where it mattered.
So we shouldn't have third-party states.
I mean, I just find it like a weird argument. Don't vote for your conscience and the third party because we need to make this person win. I feel like then what is the point of your vote? It's like you're just conforming. I know that you have to be an adult and you want the right person to win, like not Trump. But man, like a lot of people get mad at people that vote for third party.
Right, because people are thinking that if I vote for a third party, my vote is wasted. At least if I vote for somebody who has a chance, you're voting. Your vote is counting that way.
I mean,
Your voice is being heard. That's really what's happening.
Is it though?
So I'm all for that, but I think this was not the election to do it though.
Yeah,
like you gotta again prioritize. Like
I
this,
agree.
This look what happened, right? Look at the effect of that. And in hindsight, you can say that it wasn't a good idea because there were so many risks involved. Like so many things can happen because of these, Trump and Pence. That this was not the election to fuck with.
You're right.
If any other election, if people are more rational and running, then always vote your conscience, vote for the third party because you need to show the other parties that there is a base that they're getting ignored. So if they want extra votes, they just need to pander to them in the
Yeah.
future. You know what I mean? Then you
Yeah.
can move them here. But this was not the election.
No,
to do.
definitely not. And all the progressives, I think we need to move to like swing states so that our vote really counts.
Yeah, we gotta.
No point living here now. We got to spread it out. I feel like everyone's too like in these cities. We got to move out to the rural areas and take
Yeah.
over.
That's not happening.
That
Let's be
sounds-
real.
That sounds like missionaries.
Yeah.
Religion.
Yeah, we start going around with that.
Mother Teresa, great person.
You know,
Huge fan of her.
it's the day that happened. Like it was just. I don't know, man. I kind of also felt like someone died. Like
I
the
feel
part,
like something really wrong
it
happened.
was like
I couldn't really
my brain,
explain
yeah.
my emotion.
It felt like there was so much emptiness. Like
Dude, do
There's
you know
like
what
a-
it is? I love that you guys do this podcast, and the thing about it is that the whole message behind it is kind of like it's very progressive. Actually, the message is like we're going towards some goal. So what I just felt like is we just went backwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I'm not saying Obama was perfect. I'm not even
Yeah.
trying to take one side on this. But nobody can tell me that Trump is forward. Maybe I guess he might be so bad that people will wake up now.
and move us forward exponentially.
Yeah, I mean, Like, people
Feels
actually
right.
have to get out and do something, though. If you believe in something, and I've been saying this for a while, I'm one of those annoying people on Facebook who'll comment and stuff. You know, people don't want to have these awkward conversations. They want to live in their bubbles.
Yeah.
They want to be happy, and that's fine. But then something bad could go wrong.
No one likes
having
change.
a voice and having, being opinionated does have some worth.
It does. I totally agree.
Man, if the United States was in Europe, it'd be like 50 different countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're trying to
Isn't
do
that crazy, though? We're
Yeah.
so fucking big.
Yeah.
They're trying to do a Kelly exit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Cali exit. I would
Yeah.
kind of support that in a weird way.
They're trying to break away from like how like London broke away from
Yeah.
the European Union. They're trying to break away from the.
That's funny though. Isn't Illinois like essentially still like a red state? Just
except
with-
one blue part.
Yeah.
Everything
Just
around us is
Chicago. Yeah,
red.
so-
We are in such a bubble. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We're literally, king bubble.
so how do we separate there?
So
Chicago
So going
splits
back
up.
to, going back to like looking at that map through the whole country, every place that is red also has very low IQ levels too,
and population.
population and education,
And they also have no money, actually. So they're actually welfare states.
yeah, and, no, yeah, and they're the part that probably doesn't get enough funding or like government aid as much as a city would for infrastructure at least.
Dude, let's talk about these places a little bit more. Let's like hash it out. When we're talking about these small ass places, we're talking about populations of like 400. I had friends who had, in college who were from towns of like 2,000. So let's talk about Skokie. Skokie is, I think, like 12,000. I don't know how much like Schaumburg is or South Elgin is, but I mean, like 400 people. Is that really even anything? And then your
Yeah.
nearest
No.
post office might be like 50 miles away.
And you know everyone in the town.
You
by
know
name,
everybody.
Same ideology, same way of thinking. No
course.
challenging, but
Yeah, how much diversity is there in thought?
yeah,
Can't be much.
Not
you only
a
have a
lot.
400-person sample size.
Yeah.
And then every time I think about it more, I'm like, we can fix all this and move the world to a better direction if we just can spark everyone's curiosity like overnight somehow. You know what I mean? And how their attitude towards life, the universe and all that would change overnight, and then how their decisions would reflect because of it. Right now they're just so caught up. We accept this reality for what it is. I say that a lot. And we walk around, we go in these buildings and houses, and we think this is normal. Where in that same episode where Neil deGrasse Tyson was on with Stephen Colbert, he quoted when he asked him, "What do you think about this election?" He went to a quote from one astronaut. I forgot what it was, but what the astronaut was saying is like when you're out in space, you just want to fly. When you see Earth from outer space, and you just see this little rock just floating in the middle of nowhere. From that perspective, he was saying he just wants to fly in, grab a politician by the neck, fly back out, and said, "Look, you son of a bitch." Like that's his direct quote.
Yeah,
I'm
that's a
butchering
good
it.
quote.
So he's just trying to show like once you get out here, everything that we were thinking of, you look back and like, God damn, we're so stupid. We're fighting over the dumbest, stupidest things. Like we're getting so divided by race and color of our skin and language, and we don't realize as a human species in the world, we have more similarities than differences. Like you have two eyes, I have two eyes. You have two arms or two hands. You 2 feet with 10 toes, 2 ears. I can keep saying so many things, and we have made out of the same atoms. We have the same cell structure. You have 2 lungs, 1 heart. We have more similarities as a species, and what we fight over: skin, language, ideology. Like the smallest things.
Like the paint job of your car or something like,
we don't celebrate the big things. We fight and go to war and kill one another for the smallest things. And then we already are so small to begin with in the universe.
Real quick, well, it's still relevant. I don't know if it is anymore, but it was Edgar Mitchell, an Apollo 14 astronaut that you're quoting
Yeah, do you have
from
the quote?
People magazine. You develop an instant global consciousness, a people orientation, an intense dissatisfaction with the state of the world, and a compulsion to do something about it. From out there on the moon, international politics looks so petty. You want to grab a politician by the scruff of the neck and drag him 250,000 miles out and say, "Look at that, you son of a bitch."
Yeah.
All right,
That
at
was a
first I
good-
thought you just wanted to swear, but yeah, you're right.
No, he did quote that. And then
Sounds
Neil
like
deGrasse.
that sounds like mushrooms.
Sounds like
Global
mushrooms talking.
consciousness.
Yeah.
You don't have to go out all that far.
That's literally what happens when you,
You
eat
can get
mushrooms.
that woke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I heard that when I was going to work on the train, and when I got out, and then I get into this big city in downtown Chicago, and I'm walking to a city, then I see the infrastructure, and I'm like, how many people honestly think that they're walking in a flying rock in the middle of nowhere? How many people are thinking that? Everyone just thinks this is legit. Like this has always been here, and this is normal. And then once you get caught into that, then you get caught into these right wings, left wings. Who's your favorite artist? What is better music? You start ignoring the vastness of the universe, and you start narrowing yourself to the small things that makes you forget about
so
everything.
small that you get to keeping up with the Kardashians.
Yeah, and then then you get two sides, and if you have two sides sitting at a table right now, how do you talk? We can always talk about. I think we already, if we have not, like climate change, like if we have a Republican and Democrat, and when I bring up a subject of climate change, how can we go home deciding that the right person won that argument? Like one person seeking the truth and one person is going based on faith. Let's just say.
Because you have to, before you have that debate, you got to agree on what the facts are.
Right.
And if two parties cannot agree on the facts, then you can't have a meaningful debate on anything.
Yeah, it's just two people talking.
Super true.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the problem of our brains. Like, where do we stop and say, okay, how do I know my truth is truth? Let me just at least listen to it, and rationalize and go back and forth and work together. One of us is right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a whole
That's the
climate
crazy-
change debate right there.
Yeah,
It's one group they're just not agreeing on the facts. The science is there.
yeah.
But
But we
can't-
know one person is right, though, right?
Yeah.
The crazy part is,
Yeah.
like, how do you find out about yourself that how about if that other person is right, but you're so set on that you are right? Like, where do we draw? As humans, we should, every time we're having a conversation with someone, we should analyze our brain and the ways processing and thinking, because I think that also makes a difference. Once we understand that, then let's say if you throw a debate or subject and we talk about it, I am honestly gonna try to question my knowing of truth. You know what I mean? And then obviously I'm gonna learn something. Then I'm gonna get to move forward. There's no way that I'm gonna anytime go backwards.
Yeah. So you got to have people that are willing to compromise in situations. So how do you teach people how to compromise? Is that something that can be taught?
Or be curious, right? Or let's spark that curiosity to get them to that level. So how do you educate people? How make America smart again? Because I think that is the solution to fixing. Well, you don't think so?
No, it's not that. I just think like what is education has changed so much now, because like before, to me, education was going to college, going to a university, but anybody can educate themselves. So when you were talking, I was just thinking about like what way or what method would it be that you could just educate everybody? You know what I mean? I guess they would have to have some kind of incentive. Like, I'm just saying, like, why would somebody,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? How could we make people? So I guess college is one way where we all learn. You go to school, you go to college, you get educated. But I'll be honest, that's really not the best way, in my opinion, anymore. Like, the world is changing.
Everyone learns differently, right?
Yeah,
So-
and now we learn all the time. So, like, should there be ways to teach people how should we spark that curiosity?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. How do you spread curiosity?
I just got trumped.
We talked about it before, like, spreading the light, spreading the truth, and then, that being also curiosity. I mean, if we truly really want to fix this as the bubble that we're in, we should also, it's our duty, I guess, an obligation also to listen to the other side and honestly question, our own truth about reality, and then honestly listen to what they're saying. Because if you can't fix anything, if you're going to bash, right? So you have to understand the other side, what they're saying, and then, always take the higher ground. And you know what I mean?
Sometimes you can't really understand the other side because you initially have a bias towards your own belief. So even if you look at that, you tell me that white is black or whatever, I'm going to be like, no, it's just this is how I am. This is how my
That's
bias
what I'm
is
saying.
towards.
We should question our own way of thinking that I'm right all the time. We all should try to listen to what they're saying and understand what their issues are, because that's how we got here. There is a other half of them, So again, there are two ideologies and one is right. So who is? So we should at least try to listen to them, and then in that way we can learn what made them get there, and then we could do things to figure out how to spark curiosity in them, because all they're missing is information.
But
If they had more information, they would think more like us, I think.
Okay.
I was going to say we got to start seeding their entertainment. I don't know what they do over there. Obviously, I don't know the whole culture. but I'm assuming everyone watches TV, listens to music. So we
Right.
got to start including these people in popular culture, seed them with our ideas.
Yeah, and not always like demonize them, because that, again, I go back to that crack.com article. It's
Yeah.
true. We think of people from the country as like backward or something. We
Walking
think of them
Dead or
as like less
something.
than us. So we actually are the ones with the bias. So again,
Yeah.
that bubble we speak about, we do have. I do have a bias against people from, I wouldn't say the South, but people who are from smaller towns. Because I feel like I had all this opportunity and they didn't, and that's wrong of me. But I'm just trying to explain my bias and to have an open conversation about it. And I feel like they kind of don't like how we brag about our education and how we feel like we're
the
the
city
shit.
folk or whatever.
Yeah. And,
I
we
envy
do have
them.
our own, like a swag to us. So we are a little bit different than them. But, one thing I've noticed is they think we're soft.
Yeah.
Because, because people over there, they know how to fix their own cars.
Yeah.
They know how to maintain themselves. They know how to use a gun.
Yeah.
When they're going out like for 20 miles. They got a truck or something. We have everything. In this plaza that we're in right now, we could get chai, some food, and, call it a night.
Couldn't just say coffee, huh? No, I'm kidding.
Sorry, coffee.
Nah, I'm kidding.
Yeah, and then think it gets weird, man. Like, so then you start thinking about them more, and and then obviously, so I go back to, like, it's not also their fault because they were born there, and and they're learning and being brainwashed with these ideologies, and stuff like that. So, like, it's part of not their fault either. Like, now, if we want to change something, if I want to change something, I feel it's our obligation, or we have to figure something out to also give them more information. Not go to war with them, or not to, like, fight or beat them up, or, like, use violence in any way or mean. But it's more of educating them, and that how we're gonna do that, I guess, is a tougher question. But that's my way of thinking right now.
I still go with going into their popular, I think, media.
Yeah. So
including them
Yes.
in the questions and everything that we do.
right.
Right now, they feel left out, and that's the sense that I got from reading that article as well.
Yeah, it's
They
like
just-
we shouldn't make fun of them, and we really need to examine ourselves. That's
But I-
really what you're saying,
But I thought they weren't soft.
huh?
They
Yeah.
get
Yeah,
a
they
bit
kind of
soft.
soft.
You
Yeah,
can't
Scruffy,
make
but
fun of
they're scruffy, but they're sensitive.
they think we're soft, which is cool. I mean, I guess so. I don't live on a farm. I don't have to fucking
That's dope.
kill a
But-
chicken.
But it's also weird, like,
I just eat them.
regardless of what
Yeah.
side you are
I don't know what
on,
happened.
like, how can someone have, then I guess we go back in our bubble, if you will, thinking, how do they have so much hate? Like, how can you, I know growing up, I was, we were told to think a certain way about Indians, but, because that whole clash of India and Pakistan, so, like, that bias that we heard from our parents, the negative, racism comments that you grow into, and then you think they're normal, and you automatically think like that too. But as I at least got older, and you start thinking, like, I need to cleanse myself of all this because it's not good. Like, we are all one. We just have different small differences. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, like, it just gets weird that other side, when you see Trump rallies, it is frightening that you see people, like, chanting, all that hate against Muslims, blacks,
Yeah, that's like the one thing. Like, my main reason for not being able to support Trump has nothing to do with policy. I mean, at some level, I don't think the president's a puppet, but they can only do so much. But the thing is that he stands for hate, almost kind of. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say openly, but yeah, he does. He doesn't stand for our best ideals at all as an individual. Even anything he's done in business, I feel like Barack Obama, whatever it was, just that man as an individual, coming from what he did, educating himself, and becoming a politician, whatever. He's not perfect, but the man you could kind of, like, respect. With Trump,
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you really respect him? Do
You
you think there's
de-
something special about him?
There's something special about him, yeah, for sure. But you definitely can't respect him.
Yeah, I guess he's special in the sense that he really knows how to get attention, and in his own way, he did win.
Yeah.
He said he was going to do something.
Yeah.
He did it.
How crazy is that, man? I was just thinking, like, how sometimes when we have, like, national strategy, what's it called?
A national
Tragedy.
Strategies,
Strategy.
yeah. And then Barack Obama will come on news and he just looks so professional, like, you know.
You
and then
feel
the way
safe.
you feel safe when you talk. Can you picture him doing one of those things?
Like,
Like
gonna
how?
come out like we're gonna like track down where this person came from. We're gonna bomb them to hell.
This is gonna be a hate speech, pretty much.
Did you see that? That's also
Yeah.
his plus point for him because people feel like he talks like just normal people and
Yeah.
he cuts
Everyone
that
can get
political
him.
bullshit
Half the
out.
country does think that.
Yeah.
So
Like Obama is saying "Aramarapia" and shit. Like
right.
what?
I don't know what that.
I don't even know what it means, bro.
So actually,
I'm
not
voting for Trump.
So
I'm
not
kidding.
being presidential helped him this election in connecting with people.
I think things have gotten so bad where the other side that wasn't voting or staying out of elections finally heard something so to the left. I'm sorry, to the right that it encouraged more people to vote. They were talking about in the Daily Show. They had one of the what's his name, Trevor Noah.
Mhm.
He's speaking to one of the guests, and they were talking about how she was talking. Her host, that was on the show.
the guest.
The guest, sorry, yeah, she was saying that for the like couple of years, like the Republican parties have been trying to figure out where is this white vote that they lost over time, and they kind of went away, and Trump brought them back in this election, and then he joked around, so that they're like the White Walkers, when things get bad, like people are saying, they're coming, like no one took them seriously, and the Democratic Party didn't take it seriously because they thought they had it in the bag.
Yeah, everyone just seemed really confident, right? Like
Yeah.
I didn't. But to be honest, like I kept talking to my dad. I was like, I keep seeing these numbers. I'm like, she's not that ahead, and I
Yeah.
kept saying that to him throughout the week. But then even I was like, all right, I probably just don't pay enough attention. Somebody
Especially-
knows what's going on. Somebody smarter than me knows what's going on. But I would just check the numbers every once in a while just to see if she's like winning yet.
Yeah.
Because I remember when the election started, everyone was like, don't worry. When they
Yeah.
get out there, she'll be up by like 10 points or something.
It's not even that. When he came down the escalator for the first time and he gave his speech,
Yeah, people are
they're
like, he's not even going to
this-
run.
Yeah, this is just for showbiz. He's just trying to,
And some people said he didn't want to win.
yeah.
he didn't look that happy when he won.
Yeah.
Did you see his picture?
Yeah. I think he's shocked.
He's probably
as
just
fuck.
He's like-
tired too, though. But
No, I think he's shocked. Like, holy shit, I got this.
yeah, I feel like on some level he has to be. I mean, this guy, like I said, was in the WWE. He does drama and acting for a living. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He's in entertainment. He knows what it feels like to just pull one over somebody.
Yeah.
So on some level, he knew that he was just
now
kind
the
of
shit's
lying.
getting
Yeah,
real.
now shit's getting really
They're
real.
giving you the keys to the White House,
Yeah.
keys to the
Do you
Air
think
Force One. Like, it's gonna get crazy. You're gonna have army at the
man,
your
under
fingertips.
his-
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
my God.
exactly. If something bad happens in this country, that's really when you have to worry because he's shown that you don't fuck with him. He is not gonna take your shit,
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want that kind of person with that much power, and that really, really does scare me. But then again, man, I was thinking about this too. Maybe Hillary Clinton would have been worse. I think
In
she
terms
might
of-
have been worse.
In terms
No, I
of
don't
killing
think so.
people and going to
Exactly.
she is super pro war.
Exactly. So
She
she's
is all about
exactly.
it.
It's not like she's a peace candidate. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So meaning like, let's say Trump fucks us up domestically, takes us a little back, but maybe as far as lives lost go, Trump is going to kill less people than she would have.
I
Her
disagree.
actions. I'm just saying.
Here, I'll tell you
All
why.
right, go ahead. I could.
You can do the math and let's say she does get elected, right? And then she does have more wars than let's say George Bush did. Then we can say like what 1 million. I don't know the numbers of the people that have died from the Iraq War. What is it?
Yeah, it's like millions. They say
about
up
a
to they say about the 2 million or something like that.
Right.
But I, was,
Iraqis or-
but I was saying Hillary versus Trump, not just like
Yeah. So
Hillary.
let me finish it.
Okay.
So let's
You want those info? You want that info?
Yeah. How many?
Yeah,
have
how many people
so- I
died
think-
during the Iraq War?
Wow, there's 2 time periods.
number.
100 to 12 to 123,000 civilian deaths from violence. 174,000 civilian combatant deaths. That's from March 2003 to March
I thought it
2013.
was in the millions.
So-
but I've heard that number gets exaggerated.
Yeah, there's 2 different people. Some people say that number.
Yeah,
There's people
yeah,
say
'cause
that
I remember,
1.3 because they don't factor the civilian deaths,
Yeah.
the mistakes or whatever.
Sam Harris was talking about that.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is let's take those numbers and let's double them. And let's say with Hillary being president, with her war, she would have done double the damage of people dying, right?
Okay.
So we can say 1 million people would have died at that result. Now you take someone like George Bush, Donald Trump, and he's getting elected, and he's gonna have Attorney General Giuliani,
Goddamn.
Such a
Newt Gingrich, and Chris Christie. These people are gonna be in his party.
They all creep me out.
They are gonna change. They're gonna bring Cole's jobs back. They're not. They're gonna. I mean, they've been talking about it, so they're climate deniers, right?
But that might
So-
not happen. You know why? Because it's up to the industries. They're not, because coal is getting more and more expensive now. Actually,
Yeah.
No, okay. What I'm trying to say,
but you're saying they're gonna push that.
they're gonna push everything back. They're gonna defund all like the science programs because they're gonna think it's waste of money. All the research that is going to climate change that could probably find a solution. They're gonna defund all that, government funding, cut more NASA. So they're gonna cut down more on science. So in long term,
Yeah.
if global term climate it is getting real, man. It's remember I'm driving the car with my windows down so many days, and
Kinda like it.
that over time is gonna kill billions of people. You already
End all of mankind.
or mankind. Yeah, there's
Oh, you're saying the long term effect of it. Yeah, I can.
He's
kind
gonna
of
do more
understand that.
damage than her 1 million. That's gonna look really bad for the 4 years. She's gonna
Yeah.
do it
I
like
guess it depends who you are, then, huh?
yeah.
yeah. And let's not forget about the fact that he can. Yeah, forget. Okay, so we're talking about people dying, but also if he's gonna appoint Supreme Court justices, he can set back all the progressive laws that have been passed.
It's so
Right.
crazy, dude. They won
that scares
everything.
me.
They,
Senate,
they
House,
literally won
President.
everything.
That's what terrifies me a lot. Is it's the Supreme Court. They could get up to three, not Republicans, super right, conservative
yeah,
people. Like they're gonna they can get three of those conservative people. So now, any law that goes to the Supreme
Yeah.
Court automatically, if it goes against their values, you've pretty much lost the case.
yeah,
Anything
And-
progressive, yeah.
So this is gonna set us back 15, 20 years.
yeah.
Because because it's for life. You have that position, and so how that would affect climate change and and our evolution in technology, how much that can hold us back, could automatically do our end. We talked about in our first podcast episode the free will and paradox, how we talk about the Fermi paradox, and there's a great filter in
Yeah.
each civilization, and we joked at that time that Donald Trump could be the great
Yeah.
filter, and it's scary that shit.
That's a true
The
thing.
first step is there. He's been elected, and he's gonna undo progressive laws and defund science and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Like so this could be ultimately.
Right. But the one thing that I do find interesting, the one silver lining is that I always thought, or a lot of people think, that the president is just a puppet. But
Right.
this time we can really get to see if all the stuff that he's saying, if the president has any power to do stuff,
Right.
or is it just going to change and he's going to be just like the same?
But so there are three branches of government, right? So that keeps everything in checks and balance. They want all three.
Yeah.
So he could do shit if he wanted to.
Right.
Because what's even more terrifying is when he first started, he had he was getting momentum and all that stuff. When he was going as Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio and all that stuff, there were certain Republicans that were coming on to his campsite, and then when they fully came on, and all those tax and stuff came out, and that Pussygate thing that happened,
Yeah.
then everyone started bailing, and they start talking shit about him, saying, "Oh, he's not our Republican," blah blah blah. So all the major, who's the guy that controls the Senate? Husband,
Paul Ryan.
Paul Ryan, yeah, Paul Ryan. All these other people start backing out their endorsements. So he was only left with the shitty Republicans that no one liked, that everyone was trying to get rid of. So Giuliani, Newt Gingrich, these are all crazy people that are on, Fox News and
I
all
mean,
that
there's a
shit.
lot of crazy people, but those people just creep me the fuck out, man. Seriously, like
Well,
Rudy Giuliani,
yeah.
especially.
It's scary. At least what they were saying was at least when George Bush won, he had smart Republicans that would do rational ideas within their value. Now you have the shittiest, craziest fucking people looking for a job, and they stuck with Trump from the beginning.
Yeah, because they're crazy enough back then to actually support him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the only reason that they were supporting him is because, first of all, they ran against him. He trashed him, like Chris Christie.
Yeah, Chris Christie.
He
Oh my god.
trashed him in all the, I don't know if you watched the first
Yeah,
debates.
I
He
remember all
trashed everybody. And all these same people, when they lost, came in line, start following, came in his wagon and started supporting him.
And he's gonna
go-
reward them.
He's going to reward these people that are only in it for the power. They're not in there for their own dignity or respect.
Not
you
trying
know-
to change the world.
Yeah, freaking, he talked about Ted Cruz's dad being, the guy who assassinated Kennedy, talking about his wife, go attacking his family, and then as soon as he lost, he endorsed them. Like, there's no values that they they
no
also,
one really believes in anything. But to be
Yeah.
honest, I feel like we're talking about something that's been happening forever. Now it's just like so obvious. It's so in front of you. Like we thought that it couldn't be this crazy.
Yeah.
Let's be real. We thought there's some adults out there. They're taking care of this shit. We're having our fun, you know. But it turns out there's really no adults, man. Donald Trump can become president. It doesn't fucking matter.
I mean, he is.
He is, yeah, you could, but I'm saying
We
could. He is the president.
You still think it's crazy?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I called one of my clients today, and I'm like, hey, man, you feel down. He's like, I'm like, is it because of the election? And I was just joking, you know, making a stupid joke. He's like, yeah, that's it. And I was like, holy shit, people are actually fucking upset about this.
There's
like,
people, okay, so people are rallying in Chicago, and I was dumb enough to tell one of my friends, and me and Ali, you were talking about this. I was like, why are you going and rallying? It's too late. You know, he's president now, so what are you going against?
Right.
They're just upset. And she actually just posted something. I'm just going to read a snippet of it real quick. To all my Trump supporters, it's like her Facebook post. So going out to all of her friends.
Right,
You know, yeah. To all my Trump supporters, I am not mad at you. I completely understand why you chose to side with them. To be this uneducated is something I sympathize with, so I get it. To be brought up with hate in your hearts by your parents who believe hate will prevail, I get it. So I'm not mad. Trump may not have unleashed racism, but he normalized it. And I'm actually very happy to see the true you come out. So this is like to any of her friends. So I don't really know if...
That's like, you know, going low with low, sort of, in a way.
Yeah.
Because like if we're gonna call them uneducated and all that, I mean,
But they
you
are
gotta,
uneducated.
they are. But
Some
you know,
of
as
them.
an insult, it's not that great. You wanna, if you're saying you're understanding that side, you gotta really
Yeah, you
understand
can't finish
it.
it with the insult.
Okay,
Yeah.
so where this kind of comes from. So apparently since Trump became president, there have been many cases of just here in Naperville, which is what, 35, 40 miles away from
Right.
us, which is where I went to high school, college. Very, you know, I always thought they were progressive. And apparently, you know, there's a woman walking down the street with her husband, I believe, and she's Muslim. She had a hijab on, and some two guys apparently were trying to rip her hijab off of her head.
Right.
And so
So that's happening because they, again, lack information. If they had more information about, from a cosmic perspective, I think they wouldn't be.
No,
out
I'm
there
saying
doing
that's why
those things.
she got mad and posted.
No,
this,
I understand
but
that.
yeah.
I'm seeing those things too,
Right,
right?
right.
Like my sister wears her hijab, and I'm concerned as well. And the only thing I always, because again, you can't understand it when you look at it that way. For me, you automatically have to go to cosmic perspective. And, you know, for me, it's like, okay, if you looked at where we are, you know, who we are, you wouldn't go out and do that to someone. You wouldn't, you know, like you're gonna treat other people with respect. You know, you're gonna do to others that you want done to yourself. So like I just feel, again, for me, when you say that, it just comes down to information. The more you know,
Oh, certainly.
the less stupid
well,
things
and
you'll
I feel
do.
like we shouldn't fall for the media for right now because I went on Facebook too, and I'll be honest, I see a lot of my more liberal friends, more religious friends in some ways, especially the ones that are Muslim, talking about how scared they are, posting these articles about graffiti. I just saw something that said "Make White America Great Again," and it was swastika. So everybody's kind of freaking out right now. I'm telling you, man, most people are good people. Even the people that voted for Trump, they are good people. Hell, there was one point where even I sympathized with Trump. I didn't want to vote for him, but, you know, I kind of understood what's happening. So I feel like we can't fall into the media trap, the same shitty media that let Donald Trump be president. We can't listen to what's happening on Facebook and just, you know, blow up incidents like, oh, one person was racist, let's go crazy.
Yeah.
Everything's falling apart.
You can't
No.
start calling everyone out for that
Yeah, I
one
feel-
person, that one bad apple. It's the
I'm
same
actually
way we
more
talk about
upset
Muslims.
at my liberal friends and on how they they're like handling this. You know, you really got to find out why the other fucking people are so upset to
voted.
vote for Trump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of just being mad about it, calling them racist. That's so easy.
They're not
man.
all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
not all of them have that problem. There's even, you know, people that are just Bernie fans actually that are upset for the way Hillary did what she did. And that's why they decided.
Yeah,
not
I'll be
because
honest.
they're racist.
I just did not feel right to vote
Get
for
closer.
I did not feel right to cast a vote for Hillary. Did it make sense to you guys? They basically the
did.
Democratic Party basically said we want to hit Hillary to win. So he was already an underdog, and he basically, you know, had the party against him as well. Then like Hillary decided and her team that Donald Trump was the best person to run against, and they fucked up again because their risk basically gave us Donald Trump.
I mean, that's in hindsight. Like when you first ran, I mean, we all thought this was a joke. I mean, if you were betting then, you would have made the same bet. So again, in hindsight, yeah, it's easy to say that, it's because of them. It was a great strategy. Like, if you were advising Hillary, you would want to run against Trump. Why wouldn't you?
A great strategy should be based on the result, right? So I'm just saying that these people thought that they were so smart that they understood what's happening. They obviously didn't understand the pulse of the nation, what's really actually happening. They're playing their games, and that's cool if you want to strategize. But just like how we play basketball, you lose. Then you're not that great. You're not as smart. And you're right. Hindsight is 2020. I agree with you, and I understand what you're saying too. That back then we all would have been like, dude, of course you want Trump to run. You want the craziest person to run. We have the best chance then. Right. I'm just saying, like, if you have that strategy and you fail, then that reflects on her as well. Maybe she's not that great. She can't campaign for shit apparently.
Right. Or
what about the media? Because when Clinton, even though the polls turned out to be absolutely false, in the first, like in the
false, they actually weren't false. We were just ignoring it. Yeah, because they talk about stuff. I was reading old tweets of Nate Silver. Yeah, and he was talking about, and there was like quotes from September where he had some weird tweets that sounded, he's like, this is indicating this. So he kept saying that his data is not accurate. Like, he was not confident about the data. He even was like talking about that. So there were signs of this. It's just that, when you're so sure of something, you kind of just ignore everything else.
So they just kind of make up their numbers like, okay, 56%.
It's not about making up. I think they just weren't reading the pulse of the nation the right way.
Or they weren't polling correctly. They were just not going to maybe even more rural areas. I don't know.
So I was listening to NPR today, and they asked the pollster, they're like, how did you get it so wrong? He's like, actually, we didn't get it that wrong. If you look at our data, he said his company's data, for example, he said it was off by 1 or 2%, or because there's a certain margin of error, right? Mm-hmm. So they were in that margin of error. The margin of error can go either way. It just didn't go Hillary's way. Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh, I got you. So, it was a really close election.
Yeah, it was really close. The margin of error just, when they say, she was saying that when they say the margin of error is 3%, it's actually 7 or 8%. Okay. So if you, an 8% margin of error, he wins everything.
Yeah.
So is it a plus minus?
It could be plus or minus. So so it went down Trump's way.
Oh
what about the part where it was kind of 40-60 Clinton? Do you remember that period of polling? Because at one point that's what it was.
Came out, and then
you're saying that her polls were that bad at
no, she was that high up.
That was
she was that high up.
She was
yeah. That's probably when it first started.
No. It also, when the video came out, his poll numbers dropped significantly, and that's where everyone said it's in the bag. It was done. And then 11 days before,
the
emails,
Julian Assange, WikiLeaks.
Yeah, there was nothing there. They did the damage. All they had to do was.
Wait, there was one thing there. Oh, damn. But you're right. It wasn't anything significant. It was just the fact that,
So it was just a play on their end to open an investigation, and that was more than enough for the Bernie.
Oh, wait, there was one big thing, which is the funny part, which is that she strategized to have him. That was. I'm not saying that should put her in jail, but that was the big leak, I guess, out of all that. The thing that came out 10, 11 days ago.
Right.
That she strategized to have him. So that's all. It's not too big, but it's just funny in some ways.
But wait, that's a WikiLeak, right? That's not her email.
No, that's from, the WikiLeak is of her emails.
Oh, okay. It was of course. That's a link.
I was really confused. I was like,
WikiLeak leaked it.
That was going somewhere with that. What was it? What was that talking about?
No, we were just talking about that. You're right that there was nothing big that came from it, and I was just saying that I just wanted to make one point that the only thing that was even important out of all that.
Now I remember what I was going to try to say. So they were clever enough that they knew there was already Trump voters that were on the Bernie voters that were on the edge for voting Hillary, and they were going to do it because they knew what was at stake. But all they had to do was open a case, and those people that were, Bernie voters voting for Hillary, they probably lost half of them, or 6 million of them that didn't show up. The damage was done, and it was smart on their end.
I kind of think about their agenda too, though, because I'm kind of a fan of a WikiLeaks and transparency.
I'm talking about FBI.
Wait, what? Sorry, then say it again.
The 11 days ago.
Before
the election.
I was talking about why. Because WikiLeaks strategized this, right? So I was because their whole goal was to make sure that she did not get elected. That was one of their goals, obviously. That's why. So I'm just saying, what is their agenda? I'm actually a fan of them, but I'm trying to understand. Maybe they actually helped us in some way. Do you get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There's these people out there who I actually, Julian Assange, you can say whatever about him, but he's trying to bring transparency to this world, and we all value trust. So I think it's very important in one way or another. And they really didn't want her to be president to the point where they're strategically trying to make Donald Trump president
Yeah.
almost. So what is it about her? You know what I mean? Do they know about her that we can't vouch for right now? We can't even get into.
Again, whatever that evil, we can say those numbers are in 2-3 million. That if she's going to result in.
But I mean, they also know about climate change and stuff, so they are. Do you get what I'm saying? They're not.
No, that's what's the question. I mean, or do they, or are they letting their personal ego come after them and go after her and make a name for themselves?
Yeah, there is some fighting going on because they cut off his internet, which is a big deal.
But didn't the email scandal also kind of come in two phases? Because when it first hit, and then it kind of went away, and Hillary was still ahead. And then in just the last week, it came up again. And,
so that was strategic.
Right. And then what about the role of the media, though? Because the media just stayed on it because they wanted the race to be close. They always want races to be close.
So close.
So what about that?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I was going about earlier. Like, we can't trust this media, man. Like, they just want ratings. They just want money. They enjoyed being close. If Hillary's killing Trump, they don't want that, actually. They really don't want it. They gave him like $1 billion of free advertising because they would just hang on his every word.
But he was saying some crazy shit too. That
I know, but you don't have to cover everything. And you know what annoyed me? Even the people I respect, like Seth Meyers or Stephen Colbert, they would also talk about it. They would make fun of it every day, though. Yeah. You know what I mean? Those people who are in their bubble are getting annoyed as hell because you talk about the same shit every day. You say you shouldn't talk about Trump too much, but then you make a joke that's like 9 minutes long just about him.
But I felt those were. I was thinking about that too. Is it valuable to do this every day? But then each day he's saying something so radical.
Yeah, but
but the problem, strategy on his side too.
I think yes. And then two, I think the reason that they would have to do it is because his base just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So their probably goal is to educate these people each day because he says something new each day, and you have to undo what he's saying because he's literally sits there and he lies, and all they do is fact check his videos.
I think it's even simpler than that. That media is not state run; it's for profit. So their goal is not to like move an agenda for. I mean, their agenda forward is all that matters. So they're giving
their agenda is profit.
It's entertainment. News is entertainment right now.
I mean, I just feel like the way the media works right now, Fox News, MSNBC, like, why should that even be for profit? It's just such a strange system. They're not held accountable. Let's be honest. It's all like entertainment anyway. Yeah. The only real news is probably online, and even then, it's a lot of it's just entertainment.
Yeah, that is true. Why aren't they held accountable? There should be some sort of law where if you're manipulating not facts. But then someone will argue on the right. How do you know?
Well, in our Constitution, the media plays such a big role. Free speech and being able to talk about what's happening. The cool thing about America is we can say "fuck you, Trump" right now, and nothing. There's no consequences.
We don't know that yet.
All right, up until now, until Trump declares it. So, and the media plays such a big part. But I feel like our media is shitty as hell.
Yeah, the profit motive. It all goes back into, Elon Musk of the world. Would he have that motive? Like, if he was to start a news station, do you think it would be like Fox News or CNN? Or do you think it would be more
covering the truth?
It'd be indie as hell.
But he wouldn't make as much money.
He wouldn't care about the money, right? So then that's what I'm saying. Like, what kind of media? Just knowing that there's a curious person running something, you automatically know that the money agenda most...
Right, you can just keep going deeper. You can get into the whole idea of capitalism and all that.
Yeah.
And should everything be for profit? What shouldn't be for profit?
Right.
And then that's
like,
a whole.
I love capitalism as much as the next guy, but I feel like the media shouldn't be for profit. Or maybe, I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to say the media shouldn't be. Huh?
Then how do they operate? Government funded?
Oh, great, more taxes.
Is it too late? I mean, there's so much money.
NPR, that's government funded and private funded. Well, you could do both. You could still private fund media. Like they have those David Rubin or whatever that guy is.
Right.
Dave Rubin.
But is that even a solution anymore? Like saying that it shouldn't be for profit because
it's too late now.
So much money has been made. There's no way we're going to go back.
Have you ever seen those charts where they show there was like 50 media groups in like 1950 or something, and now there's like 5 or 3?
Yeah, just taken over.
They bought out. And then Time Warner's got sold to Yahoo for $139 billion or something.
Yeah, and then they get past the antitrust laws in some way or the other, but literally there's no competition.
How does Yahoo have $139 billion? Who
goes
take
to loans and stuff like that?
No. From Google?
They're worth about 30-40 billion themselves.
Really? Yahoo is? I thought their stock fell.
It was falling, but that's what they were worth.
Didn't Yahoo come first? Yahoo.com.
I think Yahoo came before Google.
And then Google just took their shit and was
that name is just so good. Google.
I love saying it, Google.
So easy.
Google it.
Love Google.
Going back to the election.
Sorry, man.
You know how all the protests and all that stuff was also breaking out in Chicago, New York, California. I think were you saying it that what's the point of doing that even now? It's too late. Or
I get it now. It took me, but at first I was like, why now?
What I was thinking is it's important to do these, even though it looks stupid. It's also to show the DNC this is the base that you lost. You didn't take these values. You didn't hear what they were trying to say. You thought, we still have it in the bag. We still have our base. We're gonna be good. You totally ignored this new progressive movement of and now because of these riots or protests, if you will, they will adopt some of these laws that cater to them. So in the next election cycle, you're going to get more progressive laws, and so these protests are going to change that. So it's important that we do these.
Yeah, I mean, I changed my mind because of what you said, and I stand for the principle, I guess. But I just think people need to realize that he won fair and square at the same time. You just can't be anti-Trump. I mean, you can. I'm just saying though, he didn't cheat to win this. He won this.
Another thing,
but you could be against his.
Yeah, I guess, for his policies.
But okay, so go ahead and march or protest. But what I want to see from the people that are protesting are the right reasons, not Trump. Is
right.
That whole stooping low, low blow for low blow type of thing. I don't like that. Like, oh, now you guys are all racist. Whoever voted for Trump is a racist. Screw them. This is dividing us even more in a time that we all need to be unified.
Yeah, we're divided as fuck right now. Like,
50-50.
Shit.
So do you know who I feel the worst for?
Yeah.
Gay people.
Yeah.
The LGBT community is...
We came so far.
Yeah, no, if you think about it, like, they are directly affected by this. I was like, who's actually affected by this, like, right away? Because Mike Pence and Donald Trump kind of just, like, following suit. I don't think he even cares about gay, he's pro or, like, anti. But he has someone, Mike Pence, who's going to talk about traditional marriage. The whole right wing is going to talk about traditional marriage.
Yeah. They're taking
these people are actually going to lose real rights,
Pro-life. They're really, really pro-life.
Yeah,
so
pro-life,
much that Mike Pence, didn't he pass a law where if you get an abortion, you have to have like a whole funeral for it?
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is just
makes
awkward.
sense. People shouldn't be... Okay, I'm not going to... Whatever.
I mean, abortion is a really, really tough issue.
Yeah, I don't even want to touch that. Not here. Not now.
I don't want to talk about it openly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's sad how these people are, and he's also Pence is a climate denier, and he's very hardcore evangelical Christian, and it's fine if you are that, but you shouldn't be mixing church and state together, right? He's passing a law based on
but they
his
believe
state.
that is one kind of.
Huh?
They get the rules from their religion, so they feel like their state has to follow their religion. If that makes sense,
Right, but that's where the Constitution says you shouldn't do that, even when you think you do. There's a separation of church and state.
But I think they actually interpret that law differently. Because if you look, there's like people from the right who interpret the separation of church and state differently. Actually, there was a guy on the Daily Show. He did a whole thing about it. Where
Right.
Like, they actually don't even see that rule that you're saying. So remember we talked about you have to have the same facts and then you can talk?
Yeah.
So our facts are not even the same,
No, that's what I was to say.
There's this
problem.
How could you even talk about these issues?
No, that's what I was trying to say. So now it's up to that person to question himself, right? So, like, the fact that brain stops thinking at that level, that they won't cross the other line to see,
Yeah.
That's where it's wrong. And I am trying to do that as you're saying it.
Yeah.
So then automatically I result into, okay, if that's the case, let me try to think like him, and I'm going to do the math and see that no, because by me doing that, I'm enforcing my personal beliefs on someone who doesn't believe that. So who the hell am I? How do I have that right? Why, I don't have any right to change law in place that this other person has to follow. Yeah, it could be against my values or my belief, but again, he's not harming anyone. That will be my rational way of thinking to get to the same decision I'm going to come to.
Yeah.
Will that person be able to do the same thing? They'll stop and say, no, this is the word of God, and these are the same things, and that person needs to do the same things that I do or believe in the same things.
To them, it's like they're saving you.
Yeah, for them, it's probably them. They feel like they're spreading the light.
Yeah.
And
they
then
feel like they're changing America.
Yeah,
they're making it great.
And I'm trying to spread the light here.
Yeah.
Both are trying to spread the light, but it's dark in the room.
So the fact that we can't agree on is, when is the fetus alive? When is it a real?
So the best thing that I read on this piece, or the best piece I read on this, is by Carl Sagan. He kind of talks about this, and he goes through all the stages of the fetus, and he's like, all right, so you say this is life, this is my reasoning. Okay, so you say this is life, so this is the reasoning. And he goes behind the science behind it, and he's like, okay, he questions his reasoning, and he's just talking it out. And he basically comes up with abortion is okay almost
all the way.
Third trimester. And I was always one of those people. I was always like, all right, after the first trimester, and it's almost arbitrary, right? But he goes into that reasoning, and the way he puts it, you could basically kill it almost when you know. When you're about to have when you're about to have the baby right before almost.
I think I know where he's probably going with it. If
he goes behind the science, I mean, he has good reasoning. I'm kind of
right. What I'm just trying to think what those reasonings are would be, when is that thing
conscious?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Self-aware. Yeah, when is it a thing basically?
Yeah. So right now I can cut myself just slightly and take one of my red blood cells and put it in a petri dish, and if I shoot it with a gun, did I just kill myself? You know, did that cell just die? Like, did I?
Yeah, he goes into that line of reasoning, and it kind of makes sense.
So then you can just take one cell and move it and combine it and make it into a small fetus. It's still a cell, but let's say zoomed in a little bit. It grew more. And then again, if it dies, did a conscious die or something?
Yeah, when you bite your nails, are you eating yourself?
Yeah.
Like, do we have the technology to be able to tell if something can feel yet or not? Like,
so the only way we can do that, where does conscious reside? At least we don't know where in the brain, but we do know it's in the brain, right? Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
So then when you're looking at a fetus, then all you would have to do is do some sort of CAT scan on the brain and see if there's some sort
of electricity.
Yeah. If there isn't, then we can conclude that when someone dies, that region looks the same as it looks in the fetus right now. You know what I mean? So then that will be your science. That will be your reality. That will be your physics. And you can say that if a dead person's brain is not activating this way, and it's the same way with the fetus, then I'm going to conclude the consciousness is not there.
But
so that eye is not there. The feeling is not there. So when you take his life, it never existed.
Yeah.
But does it matter? Because if you leave it alone, it will exist. You're still taking life away.
I mean, we can say that about anything, right? So we can say each decision that we make going forward, I can get in a car and get into an accident, I took another life away.
Yeah, but you're also, you have the option of you can just leave it and it will live.
You're
still killing. You're still killing.
But if it's not, then
but it hasn't become alive. Yeah, and you're looking at it in the future, in timeline A, where that fetus becomes a baby.
There will be a consciousness. There will be life in there.
Not if you kill it.
But yeah, then you're killing it, aren't you?
I don't think it's killing it. It's never been alive, so how can you kill it?
But it will be.
Yeah, then when you kill it when it is, then that's killing it. That when it's not, you can't kill something that's not alive.
Yeah, you can't.
Every human sperm and egg is beyond the shadow of a doubt alive. They are not human beings, of course. However, it could be argued that neither is a fertilized egg.
But can they feel? Can those sperms feel?
Well, like an egg can't either. A fertilized egg cannot feel either.
Not alive.
So they say that they can't feel pain until week 22. So fetuses can't feel pain.
Is that?
Yeah, that's just something I looked up. I was reading about the Carl Sagan part.
I don't know. To me, that's got to be the barometer, the whole feeling thing right there. And then once you're past that, the other person doesn't have a right to tell somebody that they can or cannot have abortion.
So then there's another scenario, right? So where it gets wrong. I'm sorry, you're saying that. I'm sorry. I'll keep talking. I think I misheard you. What I was saying was, so Pence believes in no abortion at all, right? So like you could get to a mother that's about to give birth, but resulting in a birth, she will die. So then the family has to decide: does the baby live or does the mother live? So you're gonna say that person cannot make a decision on abortion? They can't say, and what they say is, yeah, that's God's will in a sense. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That even in that scenario, you have to leave it up, I guess, in God's hands, because the baby will come. If you're gonna live, you're gonna live. But if a mother should have, or a female should have that choice, where and it does happen often, where the way the birth is going, the doctor will say your chance of living are under 50%.
Yeah.
And
then we just come back to the same thing. The problem is we can't agree on the facts. How do we sit down and have a conversation where we can state something and how do we start on, like an even playing field?
Right.
Because the other side is not willing to meet
This-
you on facts. They're just going with their reasoning, which is not based on facts, while yours are.
Right.
This actually happens in a very popular TV show now. I watched a snippet of it. This Is Us. The mom is having triplets. She won't be able to give birth to one of them. It will get strangled by the umbilical cord or something like that, and they kill the baby off.
Yeah, and if they, I mean, in that sense, it's either way. You would have to decide, like if I don't do this, then two of them are gonna, So like government cannot intervene and say no. We get to say.
Yeah, it's just weird to put somebody else, you know what I mean? Somebody else in your body choice,
Yeah.
Like
who the fuck are
somebody
you?
else has rules for you.
Yeah.
That's why there's contraceptives though, like wear this or take this, so that doesn't happen. So it's
No, but
really
if it does
you
happen,
messing up, right?
I don't know if it's
It's a
messing
small
up.
percentage.
If it does happen, I'm just saying it's just weird to have somebody tell you what to do in that situation.
As long as you're not hurting anyone, but then
they say you are hurting somebody, and that.
My whole thing is that
When does
made
that
this
baby have
decision-
rights?
when
he
it's
feels
an
pain.
eye, when it's fully self-aware, then you would say it has rights.
So what week is that? You just had a kid not too long ago. What
I
week would you
honestly-
guess if you just said it?
Quite honest, I have no idea. I mean, I would say 5 minutes
Second
before it comes,
trimester?
a week before it comes out. That's why I would take my dumb educated guess.
Yeah, okay. I mean,
But I think it's even way before because
I think it's in the third trimester, if I'm right.
because they started begin to move and shift and kick.
Yeah, when they kick, I guess that's definitely.
but that's still not eye though. We can argue probably
yeah, I guess.
because their brain is just the way our cells are moving in our body without us being aware.
But it's so close to being a potential eye. It's just right there, it's on that border.
Right.
It's so close to it. Like, where do you draw the line,
I think at the end of the day, it's still the person's decision.
Yeah, I remember I said something to like a girl once, and she got really upset. I was just saying, hey, maybe after the second trimester, we shouldn't like allow abortions.
Yeah.
And then, they kind of looked at me funny, and I kind of understand it.
Yeah. To like, I was saying that sometimes if you're in a shitty situation too, like where this baby will just suffer hell coming into this world. Like you got to factor that into where sometimes a relationship could unwind or some dramatic thing could happen, a war or something. Would you want to bring something into life just to die in an early age anyway?
I guess if you're like, okay, I guess you're talking about like, I don't know, in the Congo or something crazy. But if you're in America, you could drop that kid off to some adoption agency and give it a chance at life.
I got some info about pro-life against life thing. So
this deep voice.
Yeah, the 8th week of the pregnancy is where they say the fetus now has the ability to think and react and marks on the onset of life. But opponents argue that the rudimentary nervous system is still not functional at week 8, and the fetus cannot process information or move in response to stimuli. So it still can't feel pain, but it starts to be able to think and react. But
yeah, so I read the 21st week, and you're saying that the 8th week they have a brain. You're saying?
Okay, so week 20 is that although the fetus can move at week 14, is just like jerky reflexes. They are not driven by higher cortical functioning. Therefore, another school of thought is that life begins at week 20 when the thalamus is completely formed. That's the relay center of the brain and helps to connect the cerebral cortex to the spinal cord and peripheral nerves. So
I just feel like even at then, like I said, it's just the same way cells are moving in our body, and we're not aware of them even moving. We're not even controlling which blood cells are going to go to my heart, and they're just automatically doing it. So when the brain starts turning on and the baby's kicking and moving, it's the same neurons firing, and then they're doing things. It's still not an eye. It's not self-aware.
So reading on in this article, this is, by the way, brainblogger.com. So the self-consciousness that we were all speaking of, the concept of I comes well into childhood, a group of philosophers say.
Damn, I just figured something out.
God.
That's what
You can abort them until they're 2.
I'm saying. That's probably what Trump, his consciousness never came.
Yeah.
Abort him.
Now, in terms of these complicated issues, like, I think we have too many states. Like, there's so much diversity, and like I was saying earlier, if we were in Europe, it'd be 50 different countries.
Right.
So we got to build a supercomputer and feed it all this data, let it make the decisions.
So the same way, you know, how we're talking about if you're on that side, I'm on this side, unless there is one truth between us, whatever conversation we're having, how do we know which one's right? So if you had a supercomputer, it will absent bias and it will get to the right decision.
Absent ego.
Right? So we need to learn how to do that and train our bodies, or our brain, if you will, to start thinking like that, absent our personal feelings, our personal bias, listen to that person, and then move upwards, you know. Then you probably figure out that, yeah, you are right, and then you need to, you know, show this person or that person, or you're going to learn that, oh, you were wrong, and then you need to always step forward. You know what I mean? You can't just go into a conversation and then no one walks away from it. We all have to listen to one another and then try to become a supercomputer, if you will. And then imagine if we all thought like that, and how forward we would move each day as a human civilization, how far we would get. I mean, we'd probably be already in Mars right now. Who knows? You know?
Yeah.
Like, the more people think like this, the more together we're going to not only unite United States, but
the higher the multiplier is, that how fast you go up towards someone.
But not everybody wants to go to Mars, though.
Or become
they want to stay in the country.
Right. So
I want to go home.
Or, I mean, if the technology is there, you wouldn't?
I definitely will. Even if the technology isn't there.
I already signed up.
Yeah.
Wait, you want to go to Mars?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was just joking.
Hasban signs you up.
Going along with it.
Just for a hike.
Hasban signs you up for the first one.
Like, shit.
It's like $10 billion a person right now, right? I think.
How are people
Something
going?
like that, yeah.
You only need $10 billion.
I think Trump has. Did
So
you say
one
10
way-
million or billion?
Billion. It's going to cost $10 billion a person right now.
It's going to get cheaper each year.
Yeah, but the
Oh,
first
wait.
one is $10 billion.
This is like one person going? Who can afford that shit?
Well, I think
Oh.
they're going to pay for it, but even then, $10
Yeah,
billion.
they're paying for it.
It's a crazy number.
I was thinking that how crazy would it be? Imagine if you went to coma like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and you wake up today and Donald Trump is president.
Yeah,
like,
and then
you're like, what the fuck?
Dude, there was a funny
Still on
joke.
drugs.
There was a funny joke on the Trevor Noah show. He brought the coma thing. He's like, if you have all been under a coma and you just woke up and seen that Donald Trump won, you might want to go back into your coma.
We'll wake you up in 4 years.
There's probably somebody that was like, all right, I'm going to get away from, society for a while. I'm gone for 4 or 5 months,
Yeah.
3 or 4 months. And he just came back and he's like,
Like, what the
fuck?
hell?
Yeah.
Like, what happened? Like, where did we go wrong?
He's like up in Yosemite staring at the stars to come down to this shit.
I mean, we're talking right now. I still can't believe that this is
I
happening.
kind of want to go to that alternate reality, and I want to know how it would feel if Hillary won. Would we feel good inside?
I feel a bit more relieved.
I will feel.
I feel happy that Donald Trump is gone for a while.
I think I just wouldn't care, but now I do that because he won. But
Yeah.
if Clinton won, I just wouldn't really
It'd be like,
care.
all right, let's just keep going on with our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now we all have to be
Shit,
literally
now I gotta
involved.
try to make a difference. Fuck.
I gotta voice my opinion.
But the only thing that does affect us is just hearing some of these stories going up on Facebook, how people are seeing that there's so much more, there is more racism, or people are more open to just doing it, like trying to rip
Or
jobs off
or
and
some
things
like
that's
or some
ridiculous.
one douchebag did something wrong, and the
And
media made it a huge thing, and that guy was just an asshole, or
It's gonna
maybe he was
spark
having a
more
bad
hate.
day. Yeah.
You can't fight hate with hate. You can't fight fire with fire.
Exactly,
It's
of
just gonna
course.
get bigger, right? So if they are fighting us with hate, then again we have to absent our personal beliefs, our personal egos, and whatever, and then make decisions that are gonna move this forward.
Yeah.
Because if we're gonna continue butting heads, this shit's gonna get only worse for
I
everybody,
agree.
and the United States is gonna take everyone
Yeah.
back.
completely agree.
And
But I feel like we're kind of, again, back to the bubble. Like, for us, we live in, one of the best places in the world, in a major metropolitan area. But I was talking to my friends in, Missouri, and they're Muslim. And I was like, shit, I didn't even think about it. It must suck for you guys. Because basically, they live with a bunch of, people that are in the other bubble. And he's like, yeah, dude, when I went to vote, it was kind of scary. It was all these Trump people. And I was like, I don't even know one Trump person, Maybe I know a guy on Facebook who's, said he likes Trump.
Yeah.
But I don't really know any Trump people. But when he went to vote, and in his community, it's all people that support Donald Trump.
it's insane, man.
That's interesting.
It
So
must
for
be
him,
scary.
everyday life now has changed. Like, when these guys go to the mall and stuff, they actually tell me about, people mean mugging them, people looking at them funny.
In
That's like a
Missouri-
normal part of their lives.
In Missouri, it was 1 point, like almost 6 million votes that went to Donald Trump versus like 1 million votes that went to Hillary Clinton.
That's
a pretty big difference.
Yeah, that's a pretty big margin.
600,000 people.
Missouri's a red state. They have St. Louis, which is again, a big metropolitan area.
That was
KC.
blue.
Yeah,
Blue-
that's
both
their
went
blue area.
Kansas City and St. Louis went blue.
Yeah.
The rest was red.
My
Trump.
my little brother, he's like what? So he's in third grade, right? And he was telling me how there are these kids that are bullying Muslim kids as well. So anyone they go around, they ask, "Are you Muslim?" and they go push them around and stuff like that.
Wait, your little brother told you this?
Yeah.
Okay, I
So,
don't want
like-
to say his name, but
Yeah, so we can see that hate starting from all the way up there
shit.
is going
trickling
to
down.
Yeah, and they were showing another what's it called? I was reading a Yahoo article with these same incidents that are happening on day one after he got elected, of all the the violences that are happening or starting to happen, or maybe they're not a lot, maybe there's just a few small areas. But anyway, they showed an elementary school where during lunch hour, all the kids start chanting "Build a wall." So these Mexican kids were walking. They all are chanting "Build a wall,
Oh my
build a
God.
wall, build a wall." So
but
it-
little kids are assholes.
yeah, but
Yeah, little kids are
but-
assholes, but there's some Hispanic people that probably want that wall.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that hate is going down that far.
Yeah,
you know?
you're right. That's actually just
And
terrifying.
what
that
about
kids
the millennials that we call that are like supposed to be this beacon of light going to the future, and that like 10 years from now when all these
They don't vote.
but
They
the
don't
thing-
vote.
No, time out.
or
Like,
they become Republican later in life.
so at U of I in Champaign, right here, there's a U of I teacher that put up a post saying, like, today my students of color are reporting multiple incidents of aggression and threats of violence on campus today from Trump supporters. So, I mean, this is happening. Like, what a quick change of things that
I just
know,
don't, again, I'm not saying that didn't happen, but with
I know
that
it
kind of
yeah.
news, like, I don't know, man.
Still a fraction of
I
people.
saw what happened at the University of Missouri. Apparently, one guy said the N-word, and they made it, when things are already really tense and hot, anything can spark it, There's assholes every fucking day.
Yeah. I don't think all of 59 or 60 million people that voted for him are all like
Yeah, because
that.
you have a pretty, negative view on humanity.
So
Yeah.
out of all those 60 million people, you can say maybe 1,000 or 110,000, let's say, are those crazy assholes. And they feel now they have a stage where it's okay to do this. Those are the douchebags that are going around and giving maybe that whole side this crazy image. You know what I mean? There's not all of them are doing it. It's just maybe a small.
And I don't think
lesser
maybe a high
percent.
majority, because I think that it was due to happen. Some idiot is like, "Oh, this is the perfect time to do this." You know what I mean?
It's
And
not
he
an
wants-
idiot though. Just looking at this, like students, there were like multiple incidents, like about like 5 to 8 incidents in just the one day, and it's like a group
Yeah,
of
I don't
people.
want to diminish it either. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean, I'm saying that before Trump was elected, these people are still keeping their negative feelings inside. Now it's like, okay, Trump
It's out
got
in the
elected.
open.
But-
Our leader is okay with it, so boom, I'm going to start spitting this shit.
But it's also very soon after election day. It could be just election day hysteria. So we might look back at it after 2 years and be like, oh shit, nothing happened. We just exaggerated the whole thing.
But this is
That's
also creating,
possible.
Yeah.
This is also creating a fear amongst all
It's
these
also-
different ethnicities that, I literally have a friend who's like running to her car and shit and like trying to
Yeah,
get,
Wait, why? Like specifically, where does she live and why?
okay,
Yes, sir.
No,
She
because I want to know
lives-
the context of
she
this. Like, does she
lives-
live in a small town
What
with like
she
a lot of
does.
white people that vote for Trump?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought
Yeah,
you meant like
exactly.
specifically her
Yeah.
address.
Yeah, I also want to know her number.
15,
If you
yeah.
can text it to me afterwards.
Red or blue county.
she's definitely in a red county, that's for sure. Let me
Red
get
county.
exactly.
And I'm guessing she's not white, because I'll
She's
be honest,
Arab.
because white
Hijabi.
people that live here are really not that worried as like a brown person would.
Yeah, I
That's
still
just
feel
reality.
safe walking.
Well, you're white skinned, I guess. You're light skinned. That's why.
Hey,
No.
Homer Glenn. Homer Glenn.
Whatever.
Oh, we're glad. Yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, so
Where is that?
in Illinois.
yeah. I know Homer Glen. What is that by? What suburb? Whatever. It's no big deal. In fact, I don't know. It's not a
Yeah.
big
Come on,
deal.
man.
Orland
we need
Park,
all the
maybe? I don't
facts.
I made
What
that
I was
fact.
gonna say is like you're saying that maybe it didn't matter. Like these small incidents could be the domino effects that
Yeah,
do
yeah.
matter. So we need to be in self check, and we need to make our liberal friends or bubble friends also in check. That don't
Oh my goodness.
don't start a domino effect. Like now they do something, you do something. And it escalates.
That is a very good point.
Sorry, I'm gonna literally have to jump in here because this is ridiculous. So speaking of Homer Glenn, all of them voted overwhelmingly for Trump, according to unofficial results from Will County Clerk's office. 11,111 people in local precincts voted for Trump versus 6,862 voted for Hillary Clinton.
I mean, it's not surprising. In rural areas, you would always get a Republican.
So it's really just a city that have these kind of thoughts. What makes it about? I don't get it.
Diversity, I guess. The farther you go away, it just becomes one norm.
And city gets all the money for infrastructure from federal funding and all that. And the other side that's voting for Trump has been left out. That's been the big thing this election, I feel.
Yeah, giving those people the voice to make America great again. Because going back a few years, it was probably an economy in their area with all these fossil fuel industries that were there, funded or kept their cities alive. And now when those jobs are gone, now they're living in these rough and hard times. And now some guy comes on a TV and just says things that, going back to what you said earlier, hitting back on their issue that matters to them the most at that time right now is economy and religion, I guess.
I would just say, I would probably say jobs, money. So we can go into talks about basic income or something like that. But I'm telling you, man, we gotta really think about why, what the hell just happened and why. Like I said, that's why I like how you guys talk, because you talk about the information part. You want to get all that information. Really figure out why. It's really easy, dude, to call somebody racist.
Right.
Maybe they are racist. Everyone's a little racist, in my opinion.
Right.
But, maybe they're a little bit too much racist. But maybe they need to learn that they shouldn't be. And we're not doing anything wrong. They're not. Maybe they're the ones having a hard time.
Coexist, man, yeah. Then when you start thinking about it even more, and it gets really frustrating and angry for me. And then, I kind of have to step back. I'm like, how can someone think like that? Like, how can they want to, like I said, make these certain group people register or kick them out of the country or ban them, not understanding that we all are just trying to survive. The more poor you get, the more, looking at, country like Mexico, their situation is so bad that they're just trying to come looking for opportunity for work. And I hate that, instead of, it does infect your economies, but they're also doing jobs that no one wants to do either, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. You if you are more open-minded, your approach in life will be just always more positive direction, and you have positive solutions, right? And as soon as you are angry and not thinking, just thinking in a tunnel vision, then that hate and that that train is always gonna ride, and
and
that could undo us.
I remember I was reading this article about how humans have this tendency to go backwards. It's not like, everything just goes forward.
Yeah.
And there's been times in human history where you're like, holy shit, we could never go. No. Yeah, just to step back, like you're saying, because you have to look at it from that cosmic perspective. Like, if you look at it, when the Holocaust happened, those people must have been like, we can never recover from this.
Right.
Life could not be worse. We will never get better. The humans have failed.
Right.
But we didn't. We rose up. So in the context of everything, I'm actually coming around to your way that you're right. It's actually not that big a deal. People are overreacting. A little bit.
All that
it's
happened.
It's a big deal, but it's going backwards is a big deal.
All that happened, and the Jewish people got a country.
I guess. I mean, a lot of people got a country after that war. They drew the borders.
You got a country. You don't get one. You get half a country. You and you got to share a country.
Sorry,
even though you don't like each other.
I'm really interested in seeing what Trump actually does
and
now.
doing the policies that he pushes.
So off his website, we were talking about this in the car.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but I was just gonna say that we were talking about it on the right here. That from his website, he's actually taken some negative stuff out about Muslims and immigration. So he's already turns out he might be actually going.
I
neutral.
think he's also we were talking about how he just shocked himself, like, holy shit, I'm now it's legit. Today he met President Obama. Did you see that clip? It was pretty he was a complete 180. Like, he didn't even talk with the same tone that he does. Sounded super professional, super legit.
How funny would it be if he actually just goes straight legit?
So he sits down and Obama talks about how he met Trump and how they talked, and then when Trump started talking, he was like, oh, I came here to meet the president. It's my first time. I thought we were gonna only talk for 15 minutes, but we ended up talking for an hour and a half.
It's my first time meeting
Yeah.
Obama.
And
Dude,
then-
his first speech, when he won,
It was really good.
Such a. I mean, his
Yeah, I actually
tone
went
was
back and heard it.
like his
He
tone was
sounded
so
like
surprising. Like because
such a
we
nice
thought
guy.
he would come out like a total asshole and be
Yeah.
like, "See, I won," and all
Yeah,
that
so-
shit.
so Hillary-
he
He
had
didn't
this-
really gloat.
So he used that same tone. It was crazy. Then he starts saying, "Oh, Barack Obama is great. I respect this man a lot. He offered me a lot of good insights of becoming president, and I appreciate that." And he went on to say, "I'm looking forward to meeting him many, 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 many times again."
And his counsel and yada,
Yeah, and
yada.
then he said
Damn.
that, and then he said that he's looking. And then he looked at Obama, and he's like, "I'm looking for your future counsel and helping, guiding me." So this guy went from a birther that said Obama is not even born in America. He's
Yeah.
Kenyan born. He's Muslim. From going to a 180 approach and saying that he's looking for his future guidance.
Maybe
and
this
counsel.
was just the best campaign ever. He just
Yeah.
knew what market to hit and what they wanted to hear and how he's gonna get free market publicity.
Yeah.
Turns out
He
to be-
just nailed it.
I mean, he
becomes
does know how to
progressive.
play the media. He literally is in the media. He's in it. He was in entertainment.
Right.
He literally
WWE,
Yeah.
bro.
he literally probably thought he was going to lose because he was about to start the Trump TV, whatever.
Yeah, he's probably
He's
got
like-
shit. I lost opportunity to make money.
Yeah.
Hey, and when they brought Pence up, right? He asked, like, what am I gonna do? They told him that he's gonna be in charge of international and domestic policy.
Yeah,
And he's
that-
like,
that
oh, and
anecdote.
so what is Trump gonna do? He's gonna make America great
Great
again.
Have you, one of the most interesting things about this is like some people were scared to admit that they were going to vote for Trump, and they didn't talk about it too much. They're finally coming out now that he's president.
Yeah.
Do you know who Cameron Haynes is? He's on Joe Rogan's podcast a lot.
No, I probably bad with
the guy
names.
that ran the guy that runs 200 miles.
No.
Anyways, he basically came out and he's like, after Trump won, he had like a Facebook status thing, MAGA, MAGA, Make America Great
Oh.
Again.
Nice.
And a lot of, and like Jake Cutler apparently is like a Trump fan. And,
Tom Brady.
Yeah, Tom Brady. Yeah, apparently something about.
They're
So, I mean,
friends.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's what he
Yeah.
said. But it's just weird. Like people were scared to
Because
admit.
of the media. The media was
Especially
so
in-
hard on any Trump
Well,
supporter.
we were too. Though we're part of that.
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, I
So
mean-
at some level, we're all part of that.
Right.
If someone does vote Trump, I do have to be like, why? Like, this guy's a pussy grabber. He's going around assaulting women. How are you okay with that? How are we going to allow that person to be an image to rule 350 people?
Yeah, I
They
think
all
You know,
say-
like, so you have to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Then you want to understand them, but then it goes back to like, what is your brain doing processing that
it's
information?
priorities, man.
Yeah. So what are your priorities? Then why are those? Then that you can break
But
it.
then I'm trying to think what they would say. Okay, so if I was them, I'd say, well, I think you're not prioritizing things the right way.
Yeah.
I would say
That-
you're
yeah,
the one not
exactly.
prioritizing.
You
I would
wanna-
say from
No,
their
I was
point
about
of view.
to. That's where I was headed,
Yeah.
and I'm like, as I'm doing this,
Yeah.
they're thinking the exact same thing of me.
Exactly. So the
Yeah.
pussy grabbing issue was much lower on the priority list.
Because if they are,
Versus a liar, as a lot of
Yeah.
them said.
Versus
She's
like
just a liar. She's
Career
crooked.
politician.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the people are like, just fuck the system. Let's just
Yeah, let's
blow it
basically
up.
that's what happened. Fuck it. Let's just see what happens with Trump. I mean,
Yeah. Why not? Let's do it.
man,
Sounds like the
It-
premise
it
of a
sounds-
South Park episode.
But
well, the South Park is doing that. Remember, Mr. Garrison? Oh, so South
Oh,
Park
yeah,
had to
Mr.
change
Garrison
it.
won.
So South Park apparently had to change their
Storyline.
storyline because they didn't think that
He
Trump
would win.
would win. So now their new episode has to be changed. It's kind of funny.
yeah,
Yo, I can see Trump getting bored of the job too. What if he quits?
he's 70 years
that-
old. You know how much work he's gonna have to do.
Yeah.
So like, this is where again it gets.
That's why it's scary. Yeah.
That's why it gets super scary because he's gonna be lazy as fuck, and all he's gonna do is hand the keys to his kid
Hence,
and those
oh.
those douchebags that were in his camp before. Rudy
Rudy
Giuliani is
Giuliani.
gonna be Attorney
Newt
General.
Gingrich.
You know how scary that is.
Horrible.
You remember that they're gonna go after anyone that talks maybe ill of Trump in the media. They could start opening up. Department of Justice can come and start opening investigations on you. Like they can start doing things that it will be all hidden and not
I
transparent.
really wonder what's going to happen to us if they start doing that. That would be
Then
just
he's-
the craziest thing that
Because
could
we
happen.
already know he gets into Twitter wars, right? What would
Well,
he
he
start?
also sues people.
Yeah, so
He sued
instead
Bill
of,
Maher.
instead of
Bill
suing
Maher. Bill
people,
Maher.
he's gonna start opening up investigations. They are joined with he can do whatever he wants. So like,
Rosie O'Donnell is in trouble.
yeah, she
man.
better go to Canada.
Yeah.
But like, all
She's
jokes
moving, I think.
aside, this is
What happened with him?
again, all jokes aside, this is very, very terrifying. Like thinking that someone has this much power that they can get, you say something against them, like this podcast, if he listens to it, you might open an investigation on us, and God knows, they can just take you away.
Yeah, all right, Trump. Yeah, all right, man.
Yeah, he will go after a motherfucker. We all know that. He's like, oh man, you shouldn't have fucked with me. You shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So all the people he's gonna go after now, I feel bad for them.
And then he has half the country backing him, so they feel that everything he's already done was justified, and whatever he's gonna do, opening up cases, there are reasons he's doing it because they buy everything he says, right? So media could be completely fucked if they, if it gets to that extreme. And Giuliani doesn't know shit about law, and he's gonna be like,
he's a lawyer.
No, I mean he knows. We just
The wrong
judges
side,
like
yeah.
intentions basically.
Yeah, bad intentions.
Yeah.
They're all greed, money, and it's just gets crazy.
It's not anything to change the world. He's not trying to spread the light.
Yeah, he's not part of that moving the human civilization forward. It's his own personal gains that are in play. What does Attorney General do, by the way? Can you look that up? Because this is just.
I think that he's basically the leading prosecutor for the state or for the government. I mean,
So-
we can go into responsibilities.
So what was that guy Aaron Shorts that got
Who committed
suicide because he was just downloading books, but they were trying to go after cyber security, so they used him as a case to prosecute the hell out of him.
Yeah.
So he's gonna be that guy pushing conservative laws. That anyone that breaks them, he's gonna be the person that decides how far we need to push and prosecute these people and bring them into justice. So, like, let's say someone does have an abortion, and that law they pass, they have enough people to pass a law where you cannot have an abortion going forward in a couple of months when he gets elected. So if someone still does it, they will start prosecuting. You could get jailed for that. Like, what are they going to do? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can go to jail for killing a baby if you have an abortion. That would be considered death. That'd be life in prison. They're about to pass that law.
But doesn't still go to the state, or how is it
It
just
goes
a
to the
national
state.
law?
It goes to state.
Because it's from the Supreme Court.
But the federal government could also overrule and once they approve it or something like that. Like, this is where the Supreme Court comes in play. If they decide, whatever Supreme Court decide, it then automatically becomes a law for the whole
All the
country.
states.
But each state has it up to them. But if the Supreme Court decides that this is killing of having abortion is just as killing a normal human being, and you should be punished by death or punished
Or just go to
for
jail.
for life, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Like, that could happen. It's scary, and then they can start passing laws in media. This is what terrifies me. Like, this is how much power this right wing people have. Like, they're gonna shove their values down our throats, and then obviously they have half the population saying, yeah, that's okay. Having abortion is killing a life. You know what I mean?
do you know what I want to see? So all these people that think that, okay, let me ask you guys a question. Do you think that the owner of Snapchat is smart?
I mean,
Do you think the owner of Facebook is probably
I
smart?
don't know that.
Of course.
I don't know that.
Probably,
Yeah.
let's just say
Yeah.
likely, right? At
Yeah.
least likely. All these tech giants, they're probably pretty well educated, and
Uh-huh.
they're probably kind of smart, and they probably have some of the values that we have. I like to think that they probably, Anyways, my thing is that the new media is Snapchat, it's Facebook, kind of Instagram too, Reddit. I think that what needs to happen is, and I was reading something earlier, and I just thought that I should talk about this, is they need to stop fucking around. Like, Facebook can't be a piece of shit news network,
Yeah.
that just has the craziest, stupid news that has nothing to do with everything.
Caters to
Yeah,
your likes.
like Snapchat, if you go on Snapchat, right, the first news story is always Kim Kardashian, Kendall Jenner, or Kylie Jenner. So that is like,
I'm all right with that.
I mean,
You're part of the problem, bro.
we all like hot chicks,
I have
but
a
that,
problem.
it's got to go, like, these tech companies, they should they're already making enough money. They should act as good media role models. They shouldn't just be the piece of shit garbage that
They're
they
for
are.
profit, man. They're gonna go for what people click on.
I mean, in some ways, they
how
can
are they gonna
also
sell their ads?
Facebook is now publicly traded, so each click counts. That affects
yeah,
it.
it's true. It's true. I'm just saying that there has to be
This
some promoters of life.
This is where capitalism comes over personal values or
or
human
how
values.
So
corporations
should
work.
there be
Yeah.
like one news channel that's just not for profit, and then isn't
NPR
that
is
like
kind of
A state run.
Yeah,
Just
those
straight run
by the
W-
government.
like a crappy newspaper,
what's-
crappy channel with
what's crazy? This phenomena of like this crazy media is started in America. If you go to Europe, people will say that their media is not like this. They actually report the facts for what they are.
I don't think they do.
I'm talking about like London, not to a crazy extreme as we do. We have different networks based on different ideologies.
And they're not making as much money as we are.
Yeah, because they're not. When you look at their show, they're not like fully well funded. They're just basic, news anchors, and that's how it should be. They should just be providing us news and not turning it into a show and entertainment.
Well, the news should be accurate. That's what I'm saying. Like, okay, I'm not
True.
saying that Facebook has to show us, really smart news or try to brainwash people. All I'm saying is if there's something untrue on there, they should fact check it. If Google is, I think Google is talking about fact checking. I think you were the one telling
They're
me
starting
that.
a fact check.
Yeah, they're gonna basically fact checking is gonna become a part of the social media network, which would be awesome. Some kind of system. I'm not saying they have to be perfect.
Yeah,
but
I don't know if that started yet because I was trying to find it, but I wasn't able to locate it. I don't know if it was maybe just for the election that I read the article.
No,
Oh,
it's just
okay,
a
yeah.
fact checker for the election, yeah.
oh, okay.
That's it.
Oh,
Damn it, that sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like news. I like my news and information to be as transparent as possible. But in today's world of noise, we have to have some kind of filter.
So should there just be facts? Because, I mean, depending on the writer or
Obviously.
it's going to have a certain bias, right? So would there just be facts like this many died?
That sounds pretty boring, right? Just reading a bunch of
Sounds
facts.
awful. Let's keep it the way it is.
Just read like bullet points.
I feel like the only way you can have that change is if government kind of pushes regulations.
But we all hate regulation. We know
On
that
what?
governments are corrupt.
On media, on how they present the facts. But then why would the government want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I never
What's the
like more
motive?
government. I just feel like there's got to be a free
No,
market way.
I think it's got to be a balance.
yeah,
So,
maybe some government.
So how would they do it themselves without any pressure from some external source?
maybe it should come from the market, which is us. The people should like demand it.
No, so we as a human civilization should decide what is best for everyone, right? So obviously we all agree accurate news, right? So then
Transparent information to me is very important.
right. So now the question becomes, how do we do that? So then you have to say, okay, we have to take the profit motive out. So then who's going to do it? So then the government's got to fund it. So now who's controlling their information? So we have to like. I feel like when you were saying I don't like governments to be involved, but I feel like for me there are cases where there should be less. It should be case by case. So looking in this scenario, I feel government should be involved somehow, where they should have penalty if they've ever proven that what they cited or quoted was incorrect or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're
There
saying.
should
You
be some
can't
regulation on information that you give out. If it's complete bullshit, but then again,
false marketing is there are some kind of laws against false marketing. I mean, it's hard to do, but you can't just blatantly lie to people already. I think there are some regulations in place. What I guess I was saying is like the free market way is. I feel like more people should value the truth. Like, why was I such a big Bernie Sanders fan? It wasn't really his specific policies, because I'm kind of a free a market guy. But the fact that he stood for truth in some way,
Yeah.
for a good intention, like no one values that. No one gives a fuck. I feel like about that kind of stuff.
I feel like people do value the truth, but it's so easy to manipulate the truth and present it as fact to
However you
others.
want to your agenda. Real quick about that Google fact checking thing, it won't like say like, oh, this is false, this is true. It'll say like it's highly cited. So if it's by multiple sites, like Washington Post, CNN Money, something like that, and it'll just say like there'll be a tag highly cited, and there'll be like another click that says like fact check, and then it'll say like opinion, and then it says like Los Angeles.
It's gonna be like from 30 different sources, but then you look deeper into it, it's from 2 companies.
Oh my god.
Those 2 companies have those 30 different sources.
yeah, but
Wow.
at least that thing is better than rather than anything. You know what I mean? At least that tool is better than the no tool. At least that will clean out maybe some of the bullshit, not
Yeah.
maybe all. You know what I mean?
I've got an idea. Why don't we start encyclopedia? That should be a project where we only collect facts. I
Called
mean,
Wikipedia.
yeah.
Also
It's a great idea. Or we could just donate to it.
Yeah.
But nobody's allowed to edit it except us. We
Well, yeah.
control the truth.
6 corporations
Yeah,
out of 2012 control 90% of the media in America.
Everything. 90%
Yeah.
of 6. That is just
So
outrageous.
you literally can have an agenda and just brainwash everyone into believing
This is where
it.
government kind of has to intervene and control some of the information that's being given out, because then these people are pandering to their base and just making up whatever complete bullshit there is.
You can just say whatever the fuck you want. Someone will like believe it if you say it the right way and you're the right person.
That's scary, and that drives movements, that drives laws, that drives elections, that drives policies, and it just gets weird, man. Like there are policies that we all don't believe in, but they exist, and then our chances of changing that could be high or low depending on how many voice that we have. So this whole election is just, I don't know, man. I want to be optimistic and say it will get good, but at the same time, when you break down the details, the amount of possibilities of so many fuck ups are just.
It's not even that. It's getting back to progressive or being a progressive again is going to take a long time because now they have the House, or they have they have Congress. They have they're going to have the judicial branch. They have the presidency.
Right.
So normally, what happens is presidents can't do much. Like Obama right now really can't do much. He can't get anything passed.
Yeah.
But they can get anything passed.
Yeah. Whatever. So
and whatever goes to the Supreme Court is on their side too.
That's what I'm saying. So if they pass abortion law, the next person that has it will be going to jail.
Well, three things. So the I think like abortion's big,
gay marriage. They want to reverse that.
Gay marriage, and then Obamacare. They're probably going to repeal that, which might not be too big a deal, but they need to come up with some kind of some kind of alternative. Which who knows? Maybe it could be a good thing, but anything Obama did, whatever he stood for, is just all gone. It's like all of a sudden, it's like he was never there.
One step forward is.
Yeah, because at least he had that hope and change, whatever that vibe was about him. But it turned out that he's really not. He really can't do much. He's a great speaker, but he's not a strong man. He's not going to get shit done.
Does it not matter that Trump became president if the president really doesn't maybe not have all that much power?
So I think it was so his first election year, I think they lost the Senate when
Republican.
Yeah, so when he was elected, we won the president's seat and we won the Senate seat.
We had everything.
But I think
Democrats. I hate saying we, by the way. I'm not a fucking Democrat.
No, but the Supreme Court was still Republican with, what's the guy that just died?
Rudy Giuliani.
No,
I'm kidding.
I forgot his name. But the judge that died. So
Scalia?
Scalia. So I think they still had the Supreme Court. But in his second year when they had the re-election, they lost the Senate seat. Yeah, so they lost the Senate seat, and ever since then, he couldn't pass. Passing laws were just difficult because they had the majority vote.
Scalia let us down.
No. Do you remember when Barack Obama was running on the platform of closing down Guantanamo Bay
right.
day one?
Yeah.
So was that not in his power either because of the Republicans?
I think when he came president, it's either that or they showed him something that
he couldn't do it. Yeah.
I don't think it was good. I didn't. Maybe he got some information that knowing that information, maybe it was a good decision. I don't know. Maybe. I'm speaking.
Yeah, because he ran on a few things that he didn't really follow through on either. Like he was going to reduce the surveillance state. And we just have more surveillance than ever.
They probably showed him the benefits of it.
Well, Donald Trump, by the way, I started reading things. So the scientificamerican.com interviewed him, and they said they didn't interview him, but they just sent his team a bunch of questions. One of the things Donald Trump said, which I think I mentioned to you guys, was that he's actually not going to spy on U.S. citizens. He said that as public policy, that he's not interested in spying on U.S. citizens, which is pretty interesting, actually.
Which is very interesting because I want to see if he can do that. Now he has a whole Republican Senate.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
does he have power?
Does he have power, or is there really some Illuminati base that controls everything? We can put everything to rest.
So he does have his pawns that were there that he's gonna, be his personal advisors and whatnot, and then he's going to place these people in these seats somehow. Not the Senate, he can't control that. But I feel everyone will fall in line because the Republican Party, it's also in a chaos. And if they didn't win this election, they would have went into this big storm of just collapsing. And he, in a way, might have saved them. And now, when Sachi was here on our last podcast, he was saying majority of the Republicans are Republican, but to the center right. He's going to convince everyone to go super right, to the super spectrum on the right-hand side and having these very conservative laws and, things. So he's going to have that base rather than people that are more center-right that will agree with the Democrats when the time needs to, disagree. These people don't want to do anything that's related on the Democratic side, don't want to work. our Congress has been the least efficient in the longest time ever, right? Like with all these laws that we're passing, they just veto them, or they don't play ball, or they filibuster. And it just gets crazy. So like our government hasn't even worked correctly, and President Obama technically should be appointing the Supreme Court, because it's supposed to happen in the whoever gets elected, but they have so much people in the Senate that they were able to stop him and wait for the next president to come in and do it.
Wow.
And when Hillary was about to win the day of, they were talking about how if they win the majority Senate, that they're still gonna do that for the next term. That's how much power they have.
Yeah.
They don't even want to. They rather not make the system work unless if they don't get anything their way.
So you think the rest of the Republicans will just fall in line with Trump, not the other way around?
The very extreme right will come in play.
Wouldn't it be interesting if we see a divide in the Republican Party while
There
they're in power?
No, there already is.
No, like now with the election done.
Everyone's talking about how this is gonna work out, because a lot of like the main Republican leaders didn't endorse him a few days before the election because of all the shit that's happened. And now that he's won, but what's weird is somehow like Paul Ryan still voted for him even though he didn't endorse him. You know what I mean? Like,
I think they had their disputes, but like eventually the Republican
they
Party
will
had to
always
bag him.
vote for their party regardless of how this guy is against their party, value.
Yeah,
that they share.
the machine, the Republican. I really thought that Hillary Clinton would win because of the Democratic machine, and that the Republican Party was kind of split, and that Donald Trump wouldn't have a great ground game, actually getting people to vote. But it turned out to be wrong. Those people got to the polls. Their machine ran. And I've heard that Hillary Clinton has actually alienated a lot of people. Like two of the places she lost to Bernie, where she knew she was weak, she didn't go there and try to fix it. Those people went against her against Trump too.
Talking about Wisconsin, Michigan.
Yeah, I think I didn't want to say the name of the states and be wrong, but we knew what she was, man. Like I keep getting mad because I'm actually not mad at Trump supporters. I'm mad at Hillary supporters because you gave us a shitty candidate and you guys were basically talking like you're the adult in the room and you're like, all right, you guys, Hillary is it. She's great. She's got it. And we all had a feeling like, she's really not the right person. Do you guys have anything to say about her? Did she make you feel good about anything? I mean, like, she basically is the House of Cards candidate.
So then you have to go to the money in politics. So all these politicians are paid from someone, right? So they've taken money from Wall Street. So they're going to side with the people that also are funding her as well. So I think that also has to come in play. And then you would, voice her that, because they owe favors to people that funded them, and they're going to say, you need to back Hillary. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just saying that, like, the thing is that the populace did not want Hillary, like, so badly. It was so evident that I feel like we just ignored the hell out of it.
Then why didn't that populace vote?
No. I mean, first of all, they didn't vote for anybody. Most people.
When we voted for Hillary and Bernie, right?
Yeah.
So if Bernie was more popular, why didn't he win?
Well, I would say that he doesn't have as good of a ground game, and his party was against him. You know what I mean? He didn't have what she had. She is Hillary Clinton. She's been in. I mean, also Bernie Sanders has also been in politics. I would say, because that's a fair point, but I would just say that there's signs that it was rigged against him, and from what I've heard, there were certain things that he couldn't talk about her. Actually, she had certain things against him, like she knew some stuff about him, and I guess I sound conspiratorial there, but my thing is that it seemed like I never knew anybody that actually supported Hillary Clinton. The I'm with her stuff came out later, but I knew a lot of people in real life, maybe even in my own bubble and outside my bubble, actually, that really supported Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
I knew real human beings. I can name them. Before Hillary, before this I'm with her, and before, close to the election, I actually didn't know anyone that supported like Hillary Clinton. And I remember I saw a meme on Facebook one time when they were in like the primaries. Do you know anybody that supports like Hillary Clinton? I'm talking about back in the primary. No, yeah. I didn't know one single individual.
Did you?
So it's just like Trump, I didn't know one single person before, that things got close and Trump was the alternative that actually supported Hillary Clinton. It's just like almost like Illuminati shit.
That's a good point.
And also like CNN and companies like news media would also like, they would ask Bernie more tougher questions and take, So that rigging part was on the media as well.
Dude,
they were
I'm telling you, man.
only highlighting. They weren't showing some of Bernie's rallies. They were only showing Hillary's rallies. Their
remember
coverage
that.
wasn't there.
Remember
so,
that one time where they didn't show him? Like, they were showing all the speeches, and there was something, I forgot the exact scenario, but there was literally, there was points where you could actually literally, it was blatant.
when you won a certain state, they weren't even showing it.
Yeah.
Like, and he's giving his victory speech. They weren't even showing that. So, like, in that sense, they also had decided that they...
And then think about Hillary Clinton. Think about her vice president, Tim Kaine. At least if she picked Elizabeth Warren, I would have been like, all right, we got somebody that's a real progressive that I can really stand for. If it was Bernie Sanders, that would have been amazing. Maybe if but she was so cocky about everything. They picked Tim Kaine, basically vanilla Tim Kaine, nothing wrong with him.
Who wouldn't question her or anything.
Question her, he just so vanilla. Like, they had no spice to their campaign. I mean, let's be honest. Like, the way the system works is you need someone that's charismatic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't live in a parliamentary system where the party just wins. We have an individual, and Trump was the spice, man. That was, that was it.
Yeah.
What the hell was Hillary Clinton? Like, I'm still upset about that. And I get it that you make a good sense. Like, if she won the primary fair and square, but I'm just saying that something weird's going on when you don't know anybody that actually votes for it, like Hillary. Especially back then,
so-
she was like what Trump is when you went against Bernie Sanders and her.
Right, so you're almost saying that there is like the 1% that controls the media and an economy that how much did they rig it by? If they can own CNN, how many of their friends wanted Hillary?
Yeah, I mean she is the corporate stooge, right? It's almost like if you even talk to someone that supports Hillary, they'll be like, yeah, she is. I mean, they'll spin it in a positive way.
She gets in, and they all somehow benefit in the Wall Street. So we need to. So like it just becomes like a betting game. So you start sliding money underneath the table to media, whatever. CNN also had not endorse. What's that? When you give them money,
Sponsor?
Fund.
Fund sponsor.
I don't know fund, but
fund is the right word. They funded a campaign. They
Fundraiser.
donated.
Yeah,
they
fundraiser.
donated her. There we go. So they donated to her campaign. I think $1 million or something bucks, $1 million bucks, and I think Trump has also talked about that too. Like, some of these media outlets have donated to her, and they always show favor.
Yeah,
her.
I mean, let's be
and
real.
he made a point.
Yeah, and man, I don't know. Bernie Sanders was just such a man of the people, and like Hillary Clinton, I don't know. I just had a point that just kind of.
And he would have been an atheist too, or would he have been the first president?
I think he's
not
agnostic.
religious.
No, yeah, I think he's atheist agnostic. But they also say that Trump is atheist. By the way,
Yeah.
they say that Trump is an atheist and he's
He just
actually
plays.
loved by evangelicals. How funny is that? If you saw him quote the Bible, it was so funny.
Yeah, I think the way he lives his lifestyle, you can.
Yeah, what do you? It's
Imagine
like his
it.
third wife, dude.
Yeah, he has a 6-year-old kid or something like that, which is bizarre.
Yeah, really.
He's
right?
70 years old. Like, look it up. Like, Shaz, like, what's his youngest kid?
Trump's.
Yeah, I think he's like 6.
Yeah, is that the kid that was on TV and they?
I
showed
think
him
so.
falling
I've
asleep?
never seen his
Yeah,
picture.
I don't blame that
little dude.
kid. He's like young as hell, and they're making him stay
10
up.
years old, Baron
10, yeah.
Trump.
Yeah, I
Damn,
thought it was
man.
10. That's why I wasn't sure if you were talking about the right person.
To Donald Trump Jr. is 38. Jeez, 28-year differential.
Damn.
Plus minus.
But you gotta hold somebody accountable, man. I just hold the people that supported like Hillary Clinton really badly, that really pushed her on us.
Right.
I kind of just hold them accountable. Like, I'm more pissed at them. Like, you fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, you guys wanted her so bad, and you just thought it was okay, and it was her turn, and whatever it is,
But
she's a
can't you,
woman.
with her.
can't you then take that same blame and then say, oh, that's Trump people's fault too? Like, how far do you take that?
Well, no, because the thing is that, because politics is kind of a game, right?
Right.
So it was a head-to-head game, and I'm going to blame... I can't go for
DNC.
Trump because I was not on his side. I can't blame him for anything. He didn't do anything wrong. He won. You know what I mean? I can't blame the Cleveland Indians for beating the Cubs. I'd be mad at the Cubs for losing.
Right.
And I try to figure out why they lost.
Right.
And I feel like I was never
That's a good
for like Hillary. I was just
Hitler.
against Trump. I could not be. I just cannot. How can you be for her? Like, what about her? are
I
you
think
for?
we all were not for her. I think.
Yeah, but isn't that
talking
weird
openly,
though?
But
Yeah,
when it came down to them two,
we
had
kind of
to,
had to pretend. I'll be honest. I was pretending.
not even pretend. I think we all made it clear that the less of two evils.
Yeah.
No one was. I think when we talked, at least we knew she was evil.
Yeah, we're like, all right,
Collectively-
it's better than Trump though.
Collectively, so that even that percentage, lesser of two evils, that was a huge phrase going around
Yeah.
during this campaign. And so many people, that even that differential percentage, and that was razor thin, which creates such a weird 50-50 divide where a lot of people, even on my Facebook, were like, "No, well, I can't vote for Hillary Clinton. She's evil."
Right.
So she was like the more evil one, and Donald Trump was the lesser of two evil. And you could see the whole scary thing is you could see it from both ways.
Yeah, but then when I was thinking that too, then I don't want to vote for neither one of them. But then you start to assess.
Yeah.
Then again, you start pursuing the truth. Okay, what is going to happen if I don't vote for either party? Let's just say if Trump does win, which he did, what's the worst case scenario? Hillary does win, what's the worst case scenario? So like then you have to do those odds, and if you're well informed enough, and if you're looking at, I guess maybe I look at the human civilization point of view, like how this is going to affect the globe. But some people might just look at their own self-interest. How does this affect me? Or this election's not going to affect me because I'm going to still be in my mother's basement, or I'm still going to go to this job and do it.
Well, to be honest, if you're a minority, you're way more affected. If you're a white person, you're just less affected. I mean,
so that's why there was a divide, because a lot of the white people were just like, well, this doesn't affect me directly.
Right.
He's not saying any wall from Mexicans,
and they're not wrong either.
No,
banning Muslims.
I agree.
Yeah, sure.
So now imagine a world where everyone views everything from a cosmic perspective. So then you would analyze the same thing I just said. You will go to that thought process. Okay, yeah, it doesn't. I could just continue living the same way, where this is not going to affect me, but this could have the effect on our human civilization. Looking from a cosmic perspective, we could be the only self-aware, self-conscious species in the whole universe, and we elected someone that just is going to turn us off, and none of the space frontier is going to ever happen. No one's ever going to find out.
So again, I feel like we're a little biased here too. So again, I read like 10 questions they asked the Trump campaign. He actually said that I want to invest in space. He thinks that it's important. Our role in space is actually important. He said. Now,
That's
obviously,
good.
yeah. So he's actually that's the thing.
But he's not. But he's a climate denier, right? So
yeah. So that's
keep that in mind.
That's one science thing that is definitely true. He said. I actually read that quote by him or that tweet by him. He said that it's made by the Chinese. That's funny as hell.
It's he's saying that
he can't believe that though. I mean, I'm sure he's just fucking
The
around.
U.S. is the biggest contributor
Of
for
what?
the
climate change.
climate change, right? And it's only gonna get worse. He said his first day in office, he's gonna bring back coal jobs.
Yeah. Well,
First day,
Yeah.
and then he's gonna repeal Obamacare,
Yeah.
and then he's gonna do something with the borders or something like that. So the thing, this guy's gonna have the busiest first day ever.
Dude.
Like,
It wasn't
all this shit in the first day.
He's gonna do all his policies first day.
and then he's gonna, as soon as he gets in power, he's gonna go and talk to all his generals, and he's gonna give them a timeline, 30 days to figure out how to beat ISIS.
That's all you had to do. You just had to put some
30
pressure on them,
Yeah,
bro.
just tell him
Wow.
30 days,
Or else.
and he's gonna implement those plans and defeat ISIS. And that's also scary. We haven't even touched that part. How this is gonna affect the global economy and the global world.
So apparently the Dow Jones just went up. I don't know. I just read some random stat that it's
Right.
actually one of the highest now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
so it goes up and down. It's
I
not-
mean, when the uncertainty is there, it drops. But then
Yeah,
the way he's acting from Obama and stuff like that, and some confident gains, and it rises. So what I'm trying to say is, how his plan to resolve ISIS is right now. That's kind of terrifying, because if he's saying 30 days, generals figure out, let's go act on it right away, right? And let's say if
Might not be the most sound way of going about it.
But what have we learned through the Middle East, right? Every time we intervene and one life we take, we create two more of the opposing force. So now you're going to go and just bomb the shit out of these people, and then you're going to create more of them. Every time you intervene, it's just a circle of death, if you will. It's just we intervene, we kill people, and like the bombings that are happening that Russia is doing now, that where they're bombing Aleppo, or
oh yeah, the proxy war you're saying, that the side that they're on.
And they show, when you on Facebook, they're showing videos of them pulling out just 2-year-old, 3-year-olds, newborn from rubbles of buildings. Some are dead, some are still alive. And then these kids are going to wake up, and then they're going to turn into those people that they're trying to stop in the first place. It's just always going to continue. It'll be a never-ending cycle. There has to be a different solution, rather than, we gotta definitely contain that shit. I think it's gonna. That's also scary.
Yeah, basically, he's got to look at things without like a short amount of time and focus. Like, look at it long term.
He feels you can just bomb the shit out. I don't know what his he hasn't said what his strategy is, but he says a lot that.
Yeah, I just don't take a lot of stuff he said in his campaign seriously, I guess. But I'm just hoping that, at the end of the day, he was playing us for a fool, and he's humbled by this position, which probably not. But and he goes and makes smart choices. Like he's like, holy shit, I actually won this. I need to do things the right way now, and I don't think that's gonna happen.
Or he just quits. He gets bored. And
No,
we
he'll
have
never
Pence
quit
as
the
president.
power that he has. His
I don't
kids will run it.
I think it'd be
his,
fine.
his daughter and his kids will say, "You just go on
You
the
chill,
camera.
we got you."
We'll take every." Just how when we watch House of Cards, how the first lady is going in. Just as soon as you appoint people like that, they can start making those decisions and deals and whatever. You just have to be the face person. Which why would he give the biggest power on earth? This guy has the biggest powerful seat on earth. He's gonna go and he's gonna sit there and like just picture it from outside. He's gonna sit on a throne that has the most biggest powerful army in the whole world that's ever seen.
Game of Thrones shit.
Yeah, it literally is, right?
They're on your fingertips, and you get to influence the world.
That brain, those neurons that fire, that doesn't understand, they're probably damaged cells that can understand the universe. These neurons, the way they're firing in their head, are going to decide and dictate the future of the world. How bizarre is that?
Very.
How bizarre. That how we talk about entropy in the universe, and it comes and it just causes disorder. I'm just picturing his brain and his neuron just misfiring. It's all disorder and chaos, and he's sitting in fucking throne, getting ready to decide some crazy radical laws that his brain doesn't understand. Like that amount of power is insane. 350 million people, and plus the world police that we're gonna have to do.
Yeah, he's known for getting things done, but he's not exactly the smartest guy in the room. So it's just very interesting. But maybe you don't need the smartest guy in the room. Maybe you need somebody who can get things done to tell the smartest guy in the room to get it done.
And what also is interesting is that, to your point, he might do his job, because in 2 years we have to elect again, right? Not for the president, but at least for the House and the Senate and stuff like that. So they are going to do everything to make sure that they also have the Senate control. If they don't, so there's another scary thing. If he doesn't come up on the promises that he made, then those people are not going to come up to the polling booths to vote again for the Republicans for senator. So then Democrat might come and win the House back, and then they can stop him and freeze him out, like they did to Obama. So they will have to pass some of these laws that he says, I think, right? Because then that base that is voting for him will disappear, because he also didn't give them what he promised, because that's his whole thing. There's politicians that don't give you things. They're all false promises.
Yeah, I really wonder if they'll like hold him to it.
If they don't, right? Let's say if he wakes up and says, no, okay, I think these are bad ideas, I was just saying them. What I'm saying is then they're going to lose the Senate seat in 2 years. They'll lose all the power. So because it's already going to be very to the right Republicans in play, and they're only there for power and money, and they're not going to let that happen. They are going to try to deliver some of these laws that they've been vocally speaking for, and that's terrifying.
I think they have to stick to their word to some point, and he's a deal maker, so he probably made these deals already that he's going to do certain things. And
we can argue that when Obama came in, he didn't close up Guantanamo Bay, or he didn't.
There's certain things that he said he would do, he didn't do.
So then his base didn't come and vote for the Senate, and we lost the Senate.
Yeah, he went after whistleblowers, and I think he said that he wouldn't go after them.
He's
right?
gonna be easy on them.
Yeah.
He's been the harshest.
The harshest.
So imagine if Trump learns from that, and if he wants to see, because he loves attention. There's no way in hell he's probably gonna get this.
I don't think you have to be a psychologist to realize he loves attention.
Man, it's scary. Another thing I wanted to talk about real quick was like, how when those protests were happening yesterday, I was just thinking, regardless of who won, there was going to be a protest. It would have been either
probably wouldn't have been here though.
Yeah, it would have in a liberals in a blue city, it would have been in a red city. Trump voters would have been protesting, and then we would have been saying, "Oh yeah, would I be saying the same thing? Oh, let them voice their opinion. It's good. They got to build that. So then,
we naturally take sides, but I'm very for freedom of like expression.
Yeah,
you don't gotta block traffic all the time though. Come on, man. There's just some people who just got off a long days of work. They just want to fucking go home.
Yeah. It's once in a lifetime, though.
Yeah, it's true, I guess. I can see both sides of it.
But yeah,
I'm a Z on this issue.
No, I was saying, I also heard that liberals just kind of voice their opinions on the internet, and they don't go out and vote.
They don't actually.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah, so, we should never judge people on their words rather than their actions, right? So, like, they can say all these nice things, but not go and vote or not go act on these things or not go, you know.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that didn't vote that just love to talk about shit. And I mean, like I said, voting for president is not the only thing that you can vote for. You can't find one person that's making a difference. That's bullshit. And besides that, there's also this questions they ask you. Like, you know, there's referendums. So like, all right, what do you think about people getting more, you know, leave from work? And then you answer that. So at least you could make a difference there. You don't have to vote for Donald Trump or like Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even realize that there's issues like that on the ballot.
Yeah, well, or they're just, you know, I didn't vote. I don't give a fuck about it. It doesn't matter anyways, man.
Yeah, like there
Doesn't
was 5 states that voted for weed, right? How many of them passed?
California passed.
California is gonna have recreational weed.
Recreational weed.
There was
Finally.
5. There was 5, but how many?
I don't know. I thought it was 5 out of 7 or something. I'm not sure of the exact number.
5 out of the 7?
Yeah, it's
5 out of what?
No, I'm
for
saying
what?
five states were voting to legalize weed, right?
I think they all at that one. I didn't read about one not passing, but
No,
it's
I don't
possible.
know. That's what I'm asking.
But some of them just passed medical marijuana, right?
Yeah,
Not
so
true.
Maine or something like that
Yeah.
passed
Yeah.
medical marijuana, and then
That's the baby step.
9 states, bro.
7 out of 9 passed it, or 9 out of 9
I'm
passed
trying
it.
to find that. Give me a
But the coolest thing is from Mexico all the way up to Canada, the whole Pacific, or
It's
the
legal?
West Pacific. Yeah, it's all legal. California, Oregon, Washington, it's all legal.
How crazy is that? One part of you just came from the West Coast.
And then also,
Yeah.
How was it?
Amazing.
Beautiful.
First time?
Yeah, for me it was.
oh, that was your first time in California?
Yeah.
California is the best state in the union,
Yeah.
the
Well,
especially
Yeah.
if you're like liberal
Yeah.
and you like weed?
Yeah,
and you like weed.
you just look up, man, and the sky's just different. You know, there's mountains. It's
Well,
so
and
flat.
and
And it never
and the
rains.
people are like really different too.
people are dope.
Yeah.
So much land. Like over here, there's
It's
always
insane, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
there's like one structure blocking view, but over there you can just look for miles and miles and
Yeah,
see the
right.
horizon
Yeah.
everywhere.
Everything's so
amazing.
much more spread out. It's more like Texas. I feel like here where we live in like Illinois, everything's so close together, and even the burbs aren't that spread apart. When you really get to California, like holy shit,
Dude, in
You know-
California, you can grow your own weed.
now or before.
It says up to 1 ounce for private consumption for anyone
That's a lot of
21 and
weed.
over, up to 6 plants per resident state regulatory agency.
Yeah, Sashi was talking about that.
So
like,
specific.
In California, you can grow up to 6 plants, and he's like, "Do you have any idea how much weed that is?" And then he was telling me in terms of like ounces. I forgot what it was, but he's like, "That could last you for years. You can grow that many plants."
Shit.
But like I want to ask a question that I could kind of relate this back to this whole Trump thing, right? Like when you went to, like, first of all, where did you go?
Well, we landed in
You and Shaz went. Sorry, yeah.
yeah, we landed in Oakland and then we drove 4 hours from there to Yosemite Valley
Why did you go there?
for the beauty.
So like, there's part of
for
you.
the bitches.
For the likes.
What is this place, by the way? Before I start asking more questions.
Valley.
So it's yeah, Yosemite is a valley, so it's northern California, and a lot of people go for hiking there.
So awesome.
For what? Like it's just very scenic.
Yeah, it's very scenic. It's
Incredibly scenic.
very popular for some of the longest waterfalls I think in North America.
The longest.
The
The
longest,
tallest.
really?
possibly,
Yeah.
yeah,
Damn.
and you're very high up.
And I saw some of those videos, and I wasn't there. And when you look at it, you're just in this moment of awe.
Yeah.
If not a little bit of bliss, like you just went from a city to this. you know?
Totally.
Like what were some of your emotions and feelings?
Yeah, you definitely. Well, the first thing is you're just in awe, of course, of the beauty and everything,
Right.
because it's so different than city life.
Right.
And then second for me is just breathing the air is completely different.
You see,
Like it's so clean, you just feel you. I mean, I personally just constantly felt refreshed being there,
Right.
just by simply breathing.
it felt like almost like a temple of some sort, you know, that you're able to enter. Everyone in there, white, black, brown, whatever, you know, everyone was really respectful towards each other, and who knows, they're from all over the country as well, and you didn't see any hate or anything. We're all
Yeah,
like
everyone
we're all
was like tourists
one.
there.
Wow, everyone, you know, you were
Everyone
just
had like an accent. So
everyone's here, so it's like
Oh,
everyone's
I love
coming
that
out
feeling.
for like the truth, you know. And
Right. And this is what I'm trying
Nature,
to tie
bro.
into, like knowing you guys, like when you go to these places, not only are you going there just to hike, you're going there to find your inner self in a way. You go there.
Sure.
Do you feel any hate? Like when you look at the world, looking at your videos, I was like, man, look at this world.
yeah,
Like, where are we? Like, it's just so, I'm looking it through your eyes, like,
Mhm.
not your eyes, but through your perspective.
Phone's eye.
Phone. Yeah, I was kind of seeing the scene that you saw, and I was
Your
I
iPhone.
was your iPhone, and
kinda
I was in
creepy.
awe. And just seeing that, I was already picturing what you were feeling, and I know for a fact you weren't feeling hate. I know that you were just feeling, why can't everyone see this? I wish everyone was here to see this. How
Mostly.
the world would be different if we all felt the same thing that I'm speaking on your behalf right now.
Yeah.
You know,
He's
Let
like,
me
no,
know
I
if I'm
didn't
wrong.
really feel any of that. I was
Fact
just,
check me if you need.
I was just trying to see if my, asthma was okay.
Yeah.
but what's weird is looking at that video. I know you were thinking those things, and I started to think those things like, we are in this small, tiny planet. They're just like, where does all this hate come from? For us, or inside us for others. Like for me, I don't think it does anymore. I think we over here sitting, we don't. We go to these things. I know, looking at you, it looks like now you felt that the cosmic perspective, right? You went to this thing, you're
100%.
you're in awe, and now what you're doing, you're automatically looking to get that feeling again by going to a different trip, right? Now you're just going to these places that remind you how the beautiful world is, that we all are the same species. We all
Just
should coexist.
I-
How are we going to coexist?
I don't mean to cut you off, but if you think about it, the people in these rural areas, they see the night sky all the time.
Right.
They actually see these kind of areas more than we do, and they
So
know
they don't
nature
feel
better
the
than we.
awe?
I'm just saying, though, you're assuming that they would feel the awe when they
No,
see this.
but-
But I'm just saying, if you think about rural areas, they see the stars more.
Exactly.
They know about nature more. They spend more time in nature.
But-
So I don't
but
think that the place, I guess, has anything
the
to do with
thing
it.
I'm trying to say is that if they're used to it, they won't get the awe, and that's what creates the change in us. So if they're used to seeing the stars, this, that, instead of being constantly reminded, maybe it just becomes a norm to them. And I don't know.
Or they do see the stars and they see it as heavens, and the only thing that they've been told is it's about God, and they
I know,
associate.
you guys might be right. I was just explaining that point.
and,
that they're-
and that star is bringing that awe and out of them and taking them more deeper into their faith. And
Yeah.
so they are very religious. So we can't
religious
say,
people see stars and they say, "Thank God,
yeah,
God
I-
made this amazing thing."
That's how
So-
all the religions are written after looking at stars, because you look at stars and you say that's where heaven is. After we die, we become a star. Gods are looking down at us, and they're somewhere in these stars. Every religion that has started from looking at stars. All the stars have God names. You can look at the Egyptians, the Greeks. Everyone, a sun is a god. Like, you know what I mean? So all the religions, from me studying it, comes from looking at stars, and we're not. Who are we to say that they are looking at these stars and that's only making their faith stronger?
More importantly, the sun. Most
Yeah.
important, the stars.
But
Everyone has a
I
sun
don't
god.
feel they have the curiosity to keep questioning it further. They see that and they stop.
They think they found the absolute truth.
Yeah,
Where in fact they might not have.
when we can argue there is no absolute truth, you just keep always going. When you find the truth, you just keep going forward, and that should be your formula.
So one thing is that evangelical Christians stand for family values, and they're actually split into their own group, because there's some people who really value, who have family values. They're mad at their friends that voted for Trump because Trump didn't really stand for family values. In some
He's not
ways,
religious.
he's a rich billionaire from New York,
Right.
and he says shit like
3
pussy grabber.
wives.
3 wives. He's not exactly a family evangelical Christian,
At
So,
So what's weird
and
is
he might be an atheist for that matter. So some Christians are mad.
Pence is a really hardcore evangelical Christian, and he also overlooked this just to get power and get a seat. Like, why? How can you still
I
back?
feel like those are the worst people in the world because
Like,
they lost the power.
But if everyone's trying to survive, wouldn't you want to get stronger and stronger? Just being a devil's advocate.
I guess, but I guess the thing that makes a good person that separates a good person and a bad person is when your quest for power is hurting other people and you're okay with it.
But so
Yeah.
many people don't think about it in the scope of morality.
That's where it's
being
wrong.
good or I know. No, I'm being devil's advocate that there are people that there's no such thing as good as bad. It's richer or poorer. I'm gonna have more money. I'm gonna have more power. And it really just comes down to you and your family. If I can give my family more, then I'll do it.
I don't know, man. It just goes back to
Some people.
cosmic perspective. If you had that, I think you would think differently.
I do.
Yeah, I'm not saying you don't.
I know,
I'm saying I'm answering that question. I think for me, am I being annoying by keep repeating that or
No, I was actually saying the cosmic perspective. It's
like
great,
it.
right? But
sorry.
it's also coming from the perspective of us, like kind of having everything we need,
right?
you know. But when we're talking about it, for
Here
a
comes
lot,
Bernie Sanders.
a large majority of the Trump supporters don't have what they need.
Right.
And that's why they can't really get to a cosmic perspective when their basic needs aren't being met.
No, I agree. But what I'm saying is, even if not being met, and if they were able to get it, I think they would think differently, right? But it's just unfortunate that those circumstances don't allow them to get to that point because they're just distracted.
You know what's crazy? Just in our last podcast that we were all here for, we were talking about how do we get the rest of the world to catch up to the United States, where there are maybe not technology-wise, but even technology-wise and just thought-wise, the entire United States is not on the same page, you know? Like
It's such a big country, man. It's such a huge country.
Yeah, there's no way it's ever going to be on the same page across 50
I'm just
states.
talking about we gotta go and spread the light. You know, if you know what we think is right. So I mean, this debate is gonna go forever.
I mean, overall, Hillary did get the popular vote, so it's not like it was a huge victory for Trump. You know,
but it's about like 200,000,
yeah.
which is in the margin, which is in 1 to 2% margin of error. So you could just say it's 50-50 anyways.
pretty much.
Yeah,
Third party.
I mean, that's like reaching to say. I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, she did win the popular vote, and she did have half the country, maybe more than that.
Yeah,
but I'm trying to,
Weren't you looking at how electoral vote? Why was that put in place?
Yeah. So
so stupid.
It's really
dated, very dated.
Yeah, it's very dated. Basically, I think they were talking about Hamilton or somebody. Was the whole point was they didn't want Congress to like elect, so they wanted some kind of medium between Congress like electing the president and the people doing it. So they want some kind of medium. So the people did it, and then the electoral college voted
because they still have the end of the say, right? Even let's say if everyone like voted for Hillary, but the electoral college still at the end of the day decide they can go for opposite side, right? I think.
Technically, I mean, I guess I this has never happened before, which is why I didn't want to go this way. But you're right. Technically,
right?
Somebody could. But the problem here is that this stuff has become a sham. There's like 5 or 6 states that are kind of divided, and candidates just go for those states and they campaign there, and they basically ignore everything else. So if it was a popular vote, then they could strategically figure out what areas they could try to make, But right now, there's really not much strategy. The only thing that makes sense is to go to these swing states.
But if you have popular vote, then all you have to do is go to New York, Los Angeles.
But there would be some strategy to combine those people and maybe the people outside to create a different kind of like electorate. At least there would be that possibility. Right now,
I think either way you would have the same scenario. I think.
And right now, at least if it's like if it's popular vote, it's one vote, one person.
Let's say if you're North Dakota or Montana, where there's not that many population, they would not come to you because they know they're better off winning New York, California, Florida, Miami.
Okay, so the popular vote right now even was very close though.
Yeah,
it's not like Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by like 10 or even 1 million votes. It was like basically in the margin of error. So even if you had the popular vote, Donald Trump still had a chance of winning.
Yeah.
But at least the strategy would be different. It wouldn't be just going after these 5 or 6 states that are just historically. It's like Ohio. I think it's Michigan. I think it's like Wisconsin. So do you get what I'm saying? At least the strategy would be a little different. Right now, the strategy is you go for those states. If they swing your way, you win the election because everybody knows what's going to happen everywhere else.
So what I'm saying is I agree with that. So I'm saying the strategy then only will change. Instead of going to swing states, go to the swing cities. Then that you wouldn't want to campaign there. So there will be other states that will be left out because it doesn't matter.
So what I'm saying in regards to that is at least the strategy could change every time if that makes sense, because you're not just dividing people by those. Sorry. You can actually create a new like electorate. Then maybe you want California. Maybe you can appeal to people in like rural areas in the West Coast, and at least you have some policies that are addressing both people's concerns of that.
What's the benefit of having an electoral college? Do you? Well, so it's just the government wanted it.
Well, they said when they originally created it, it was to have basically so they didn't want Congress to elect the president because then Congress would have too much power. They didn't want the people to do it because they thought the people could be easily like influenced. So they had this kind of
Yeah, so
like-
initially the electoral college, so they didn't like our founding fathers did not trust the normal person to just
was
vote.
this done during when the country was
yeah. So this again, I would have to go into the whole like history on this. Don't quote me on this, but yeah. So this started before the Constitution was made. The electoral
What are
college
we?
No,
Electoral college was okay. Go ahead.
No, yeah, was that started with
with the
Father.
Constitution.
I see it coming around
1970?
like 1780 or late 1780s to like 18.
Yeah, so the country was founded in 1776. So they just talked about it in the Federalist Papers, if I'm right. So I think they did it like around that time
So
because it happened right after George Washington, if I'm right.
right,
Because 1776 or 1780 would be George Washington. He served 2 terms, so that'd be 1784.
so I'm just trying to see. I mean, if it doesn't make sense now to have it, then we should take
Well,
it
yeah,
away.
there is like a movement against it, and I don't know. It just to me, it's just a weird system. Anyways, I mean, who says that those like Michigan, Ohio would be the deciding factors? Why not California and New York? If that makes sense.
So
I mean, why? I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but why not them then?
yeah. So imagine. So now these, Trump has won, right? So there is a voice that has spoken out. Imagine the bubble that we live in, and if they won by 3/4, so if their voice was that strong, where it was 75% of the voice of the country, in the bubble that we're living is 25%. Now the country has to rule their way. Like I want democracy, but at the same, I want to live a system where everyone does have a voice. But then I guess it goes back down to maybe you don't want to get to a point where population gets maybe too uneducated that they go extreme right. You know what I mean? So then you would want people to vote, but then maybe the government to make the last say. You know what I mean?
I
Like
kind
a
of get what you
safeguard?
mean, and I know what you're saying
No?
as a safeguard. I mean, you don't want a bunch of dumb people. It's like that episode of The Simpsons where they let all the smart people run the town, and a lot of it makes sense at first, but then the smart people just go way out of control, and they're just too smart, and they don't really identify with how real people live. But my point is, like, you really gotta if you're for a democracy, then you really gotta believe that every human being, whether they're dumb or smart, has a right to vote. I just believe in like my right is the same as your right, and if that's where we start, that even though I might think you're dumb, you have to have that same right to vote. But then again, if you are a felon, you don't have the right to vote anymore, so you can lose your privileges to vote. So maybe there's certain things people can do to lose them, but I don't know.
So
I feel like you shouldn't even.
So
Once you get into that, then you're basically trying to like influence the election, and you're just trying to be unfair. Because if you get to put a criteria on it, I don't know.
So let's say climate change right now that is an issue, and if we say that we're gonna have popular vote, now we elect someone that doesn't believe in climate change, now we put someone in power that's gonna end the world, is gonna do a lot of things to hurt this thing even more. So we just stay idle because we have to respect their voice. We know.
Yeah, the climate change is a weird one, man. It seems like such a big issue, especially after watching that Leonardo DiCaprio movie. It just seems like we're giving up on it almost.
Yeah.
And like I remember one story I heard on NPR where they're like the people that work on this stuff every day. So they go home to their kids and kids and wife, and then they're just always sad though. They're like it's hard not to take the sadness from work. Because everything they read is gloom and doom all the time.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to die. This shit's going to happen. This is going to happen. This effect's going to cause this, and so on. And they just talked about it. Like, they're like, well, how do you live a normal life after that? Because every day you go to work and you get really depressed about what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you got to go home and your wife and kids pretend everything's okay. So I wonder how those people, now that Trump is, like, elected, and they were already sad as shit, now how do they feel?
It's like
sadder.
It's like that, how you went and you saw that valley and that thing could be gone in the future. Our future generation won't be able to see these things because of climate change. Like it wiped out all the. It goes to a drought, all the trees die and all that stuff.
Florida might not be here next election.
So it's just sad. I don't know.
Really? In 4 years?
No, I was saying it'd be funny. The state that kind of won Trump the
you
election
don't mean
might not be here
Yeah, that's
because of his
yeah,
policies.
right? Yeah, it's so crazy.
Goes under the sea.
in the show.
God bless their soul. Hopefully nothing actually happens to them.
But there's really people out there that don't believe in climate change. I mean, Sometimes I think I'm crazy. I'm like, am I just buying into the?
Yeah.
Am I conforming or something? Is there something I'm missing?
So
You know what I mean?
It was funny you say that because I was thinking about that today. Then I started thinking like, our body also ages, right? So you know how they always say, "Oh, the climate's always changing." The deniers, you can argue to say that our body also is aging. It's aging as we speak. Now, if you start not eating healthy, if you start doing coke every day, you're gonna age faster. Your body's gonna break down faster. The Earth's the same damn way. You pollute the shit out of it. You're gonna slow it down. You're gonna
Yo,
fuck with
man,
it.
I'll just say this: I'm no scientist, but burning shit must make. If you just burn a lot of shit and you throw it into the sky, I can believe that bad things might happen.
Yeah, it's gotta affect something.
Yeah.
It's chemical.
Smoking cigarettes itself is such an example. There's secondhand smoke that goes around that person.
It starts aging your body faster. It starts, escalating your death.
So burning a lot of shit, I'm sure, is causing something. You know?
Yeah, but I don't think it's even that. Like, we always talk about misinformation, and that's what it is with these people. They're misinformed. It's so easy to manipulate people.
Just watch a YouTube video.
Yeah, they're being presented the wrong facts, so it's not even their choice to believe it almost because they don't have the information.
I remember I was into the the 9/11 stuff. Like, people, especially after it happened, you would watch those videos like Loose Change on YouTube, and they'd convince you
That was insane.
and they'd convince you that there was
Remember
some
the
kind of
music?
You
conspiracy.
get brainwashed.
And you're not even sure, and then you read the other side, and you're like, no, this is not possible, and you're just not sure.
Then
at one point.
it gets hard to tell what's true, and
Yeah, I just gave up on that topic. I said, fuck it, I'm just not going to be a conspiracy.
Loose Change was so insane, though. That music that would start at the start of all of them and played
So
throughout them.
convincing.
It's like
Yeah.
down, like, dude, it just keeps, the music itself is blowing
I had
your
no
mind.
idea
and-
when I was watching that what I was watching. It just goes into it like holy shit. It just started like, oh my god, this is true.
Then they play the right music. They
Yeah.
just they got your fears.
It was all about that music. That music scared the hell out of me.
Did you by any chance get to watch the documentary I shared, Coded or
No,
Code
Code.
on Netflix?
No.
So he just talks. I think it's done by BBC like in 2011. It's called Code, and there's 3 episodes. In the second episode, all the episodes they're talking about how everything is coded through math, the universe, and everything that we see and read. And then they were showing like music when you listen to it, right? It's all math. We perceive math into sound as well. So like they were showing a piano when you hit certain keys, they have certain wavelengths. So you can say that if you hit a C note, I think it was 5/8, whatever. So it means it has
5/8 wavelength.
Yeah, and then if you then the higher pitches will have smaller, and then deeper ones will have just one big one. So it all comes down to math. And what they were saying
And vibrations.
Yeah. So what they were saying is when you hit so it all becomes rhythm. So all the numbers that are prime numbers are the same keys that artists would use because those numbers mathematically are synced more. And so when you listen to math in music, you get better harmony, and that's what music is made
So you're
of.
saying if you have numbers in like certain orders,
So yeah, when you're
that's
playing,
kind of cool actually.
so when you're playing the piano, you're playing the math, the numbers that have the same prime numbers that have the same sequences, or that appear every 3 or whatever you can
Like,
say.
but if
I
you
forgot
play
the
like a
word was.
Fibonacci sequence,
So that's
Or
what
like
they're trying
1,
to say.
3,
They were saying
6.
So I think what they were trying to show was prime numbers, if I can remember correctly. But if you hit any prime number, all those notes sound more harmonic together. So when you play them in a sequence, they just sound very beautiful. And that's when artists are playing. They are just not hitting any key. They know the notes in the math, and then they try to connect the rhythms together. And that math comes in our brain and just triggers thoughts and whatnot, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So like when I guess when we are marketed these things, they know how our brain works, and then they plant these things. And so last thing I want to say was they when they're showing, like we're talking about like the movie Loose Change, and you mentioned the music. So there's part of our brains where if the alarm has the highest anything that has like a lot of disorder causes our brain to jump into intention and panic. So they purposely play a certain amount of music with images, and then if it's a fear music, our brain needs to hear these wavelengths to
Take it seriously, kind of put it in that mindset.
to know when there's a threat, right? Because all we're doing is surviving. If right now, if a car gets in an accident, a block where we hear it, we're all gonna jump and say, "Hey, what the hell happened?"
Mm-hmm.
So our brain knows it needs to have these frequencies, and my brain's gonna go to alert, and I'm gonna try to survive. So what they do is they take those wavelengths when they're showing these videos that touch your emotions or your heart, or if they're trying to get you to cry, and they'll show these images, and that brain will do what it's doing based on that map.
And
So when we're watching videos, we have to be playing that,
and what
Turn the sound off.
turn this off.
exactly what you're saying is played out perfectly in the TV show Westworld. Obviously, I'm not gonna go into any spoilers, but
Spoiler alert.
But I only don't spoil it,
well,
man.
basically, there's this place called Westworld where they have artificial intelligence that you go to. You can do whatever you want there. And it's Westworld, and you can shoot people, do whatever. It doesn't matter. So basically, when they're creating these artificial intelligence and they're talking to one of them, whatever, like they can pull out their pad, the programmers, the ones that program this artificial intelligence, see exactly their train of thought. So they're going to use this word and what next word out of these options, and with their past experiences and stuff like that. So it's like,
Man, as you're talking, I'm just thinking, like, how fucking crazy would it be if we're in the West world and Donald Trump is just here to be the president, and like after he's done it all, then we all reset and we do the same cycle every fucking day.
why not? Simulation
Yeah.
theory. It turns
Like
out
we because like in that show, those AIs wake up each day thinking exactly everything that we're thinking, and the day resets. Donald
it's
Trump comes.
very possible that we're in the simulation theory, and we always ask whose simulation is it? It's Trump's.
This is the Trump timeline.
How fucking crazy would that be? Like
Trump's
a
like,
psychopath
man.
that wanted to be a billionaire, marry, he can literally go assault women. Like, like how they show like they go and rape
Westworld.
women. Like he just goes around groping people. That's probably his sick fantasy, and he's just living it.
Yeah.
And when his term is over, he's like, okay, I want to relive that. Boom, we all restart.
Westworld is just like people's vacations, and yeah, Trump definitely looks like the type of
Yeah.
person to be like, hey, let's go fuck with people.
I just got mind fucked just thinking that. Like, holy shit, how about we reset?
I mean, I wake up every morning, I'm like, what the hell happened the day before? The same thing I'm going to do
Just
today.
real life.
Yeah, thinking
I
about
worked
this,
yesterday, I worked today.
I don't even remember my early childhood. Did it even happen?
I remember it.
Yeah, you do. You're
I-
right.
the only thing I
It
can
was
prove,
it was planted there.
It was planned.
the only thing I can prove is the present.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm here. I hope.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, can you say that you were somewhere yesterday or tomorrow?
Well,
What
it's
else?
all based on memory though, which can be hacked.
Yeah, I could put a thought in your brain, Inception.
Yes,
Yeah.
what's that quote? Why do we only remember the past but not the future?
Gee, what? Good God, who said that? That
Uh,
person is woke.
I did.
He will.
The credit.
Oh man, what's that?
Monger.
That guy that just says a lot of famous quotes.
The guy. He just
Mitch
says,
Hedberg.
He's just known for saying.
He glasses, white hair. Ellen Watts.
Alan
Degenerous.
"Oh, Alan Watts."
I was gonna say Ellen DeGeneres. I was like, yeah, she's really good, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said that. Why do we remember the past but not the future? Because the future is now. Each second turns into a past. I don't know.
Or you can't remember what hasn't happened.
Yeah.
But I know he's trying to be deep.
Yeah, he's trying to go deep.
Well, technically, you just
Too
can't
deep.
make memories because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, man.
Say it again, husband, or what?
You can't make memories because they haven't happened yet.
In the multiverse, you can because everything already has predetermined in it.
Okay, I think we're towards the end of the podcast, so I can talk about this. I can't say that.
We are
Okay.
now.
I said,
feel
well,
comfortable now.
you could just edit that out. But I was reading this book. And I'm going to try to explain this concept and maybe fail. But it's about like emotion. So
Okay.
emotion plays a big. So you actually don't learn by reading or anything. You learn by feeling. Like you want to learn something, you gotta if you lose the ball when you're playing basketball, you're gonna learn by what you did wrong.
That
you know?
frustration.
Yeah, that feeling. That feeling is what makes you learn. So neurons actually connect in your brain,
Right.
and the feeling. So every time you feel something like that, those neurons light up again.
Hasban's reading like a physics book, starts crying. Oh, I'm going to remember all of it
Yeah.
now.
They call that neural pathways, right?
Yeah, so you create those neural pathways after you feel something. So like emotion plays a big part in who we are and like how we go about our daily lives. But then they were saying that like once you're actually in the moment and you're about to feel something, the past is communicating with you somehow into the future. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to take a certain road because it looks weird or like you think you might get robbed. So it might relate to a past experience you have. So So the past is shaping your future.
So you
right
think
there at that
prematurely-
moment.
Ooh, I love that.
No, we talked about in our very first podcast that we did that we never posted.
Oh
good.
shit!
It was like
You
a
edit out that fuck.
Yeah, we trialed and error, and we talked about it in deep length, where we're saying, if you study the brain, when the eyes first open, it's just your neurons firing, and every interaction you have, it memorizes. And how do I survive from this? How do I survive from this? This thing doesn't kill me. This doesn't kill me. Okay, if I do that, it hurts me. Okay,
That's what Layla is going through all the time.
Yeah. So like, if my when the baby's born, what they do is they try to put the baby right on the mother's chest right away, so the baby can smell it and know this is your savior. The kids cannot see very well after they're 3 months old. They can only see very blurry vision, so they have to use their sense of smell to detect where their mother is.
Can
so
you give them glasses?
Huh? No, it wouldn't work.
I'm kidding.
So your brain wakes up and using your five senses to survive. That's all it's doing. It knows the mother of your smell when she's there, comfort. When she's gone, I'm in threat. Then you start crying. Because
that's why they cry.
All based on feeling.
yeah.
But check this out.
When they're crying, they're scared. They don't know what's happening.
Check this out though. Crying is actually a risk that they take,
Right.
because crying attracts attention, and the attention.
Ooh.
And the attention is
Be
good.
predators.
Yeah, it could be predators. So if
Yeah.
you were out in the
Oh,
wild and
lion
they
just
started
comes
crying,
up.
Yeah.
then that's the wrong kind of attention. But they learn
Don't
from
cry in
that
the
risk.
wild.
They
Yeah.
take that risk on like emotion.
I cried once. My
And
mother
it
came.
works.
and it works. So they keep taking the
Yeah,
risk.
I
And
cried.
it gets passed on.
Yeah, like a baby might try something and it's gonna take a risk, just like crying.
Yeah.
Guys, we just segued from Mind High to Planned
no,
Parenthood.
but no.
But how to
this-
be a good parent?
No, this explains.
Yeah, we got
No.
you guys.
We can tie this
Our
back.
guest speaker, Ali, he's a parent. Go ahead.
Okay,
Ali.
hold on, man. Before I lose my train of thought, we can tie this into the whole thing that's happening. We're trying to figure out why this is happening. If we keep building this further, then let's say if something does bite that kid while I was crying, it's gonna know. 2 times my mom came, but the 3rd time I got really hurt. So you're just programming that brain, and then each time when you develop as a kid, everything that you see, even when you're like when my daughter was born, I would try to be mindful, even though she's sleeping, what's being played on the TV, because all those sounds and words are going into her head
Basically,
and they're logging in memory.
So-
somewhere there, they're
first thing I'm gonna do, and when I'm a father and my baby cries, I'm gonna bite it. I won't cry ever again.
But it's gonna associate you as danger then. So
Oh,
just
God.
be careful.
Uh-oh.
Because
gonna
I'll
have
be careful.
gonna have daddy issues.
And then it just cries when it sees you.
for the rest of his life.
You're 23, man.
But like going back to what he's saying, every decision that I'm saying, each word that's coming out of my mouth is a chemical reaction based on my past. So if you put 2 fruits in front of me, one I maybe never have ate and one I might have some sort of experience with,
Apples.
apple to whatever, some new fruit I've never ate in my life.
Pomegranate.
So my decision, even though I feel like I'm going to be making a decision, it's going to be a chemical reaction based on what the safety of that issue. My brain's already going to decide, and then like 3 milliseconds later, I'm going to think that I
Yeah.
made a decision.
Yep.
But all that decision is going to be based on your past history.
So this is so much like that Westworld episode. It's ridiculous. Gotta
Don't
see it,
spoil
man.
it, bro.
On HBO.
And then you take that from the day you're born, these rural area and these tough economic situations, and you feel like that city versus rural area. So your
Urban
brain
versus rural.
So you're just experiencing these bad experiences, and your brain is deciding on what has affected you in the past, and you're deciding for the future.
My friend died in 9/11, so this was because of the Muslim people. Now I hate Muslim people.
Yeah,
So can
absolutely.
you actually sympathize with them?
So then you're gonna have this biased feeling because your brain is gonna process.
So when they're racist, would you sympathize with them? Like, oh, I get it, but then, hey,
So
I didn't do it.
To overcome that is to
it
understand.
wasn't me.
To overcome that will be to understand your thought process. If you don't understand it, then you won't understand this. That also will be a learning and a history that hey, I understand how my brain is working now. Now next time I think, I'm gonna have to recall to this and then decide going forward. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's
I feel like it's really hard to just rationalize your brain like we're talking about. It sounds really easy, but you know how I was talking about we learn by feeling.
yeah.
So somehow through feeling and emotion, we'd have to change our brains.
Well, that's
through-
exactly what I just said. So like your brain is reacting on your past history, which is your feelings.
Oh, okay, sorry. So
Emotion,
maybe I didn't
everything
understand.
that's happening in your brain is countering that.
But how would you get the positive emotion? I guess. I guess that's what I was.
That's
trying
when you
to-
gotta be woke.
Oh, okay.
Dope.
Yeah, I mean,
Well-
we can. I guess I don't know. We could probably talk. I do have solutions. We could,
Alina President
magic
2020.
mushrooms could be a possibility. Ayahuasca.
Yeah, like a rewiring.
Yeah, that goes
Rewiring
in.
of the brain.
Yeah.
Why can't you just open your mind on your own and be like, I'm not gonna be stupid?
Here,
Well,
I'll
probably
tell
do
you.
like
not
meditation.
I'll
could
tell you
probably do it.
why. It's pretty simple, right? Why do you have a cell phone? Why can't you just run 3 miles and call me? You know what I mean?
not
It's a tool.
convenient.
It's a tool.
Yeah, stereotyping is a tool. Being racist, it's like a tool in its own way. It's its own filter.
But also using a tool.
It helps
for,
you make a decision. Like,
Also-
I don't like this person just because of
I mean,
this.
we also have tools to help our brain overcome the challenges that we can normally do on our own. So sometimes, psychedelics could come in play as well.
So one thing I was going to say was, let's say someone has a hate for Muslims. Let's say in these small towns where there might be a small majority, and one of them did something wrong, but then you see a majority of them, like let's say your tire goes flat, a Muslim comes and helps you.
Right.
Would that feeling be like, wow, they're
Yeah.
not? You might be more.
course.
You might think
Yeah.
back to that one Muslim, like, oh my God, that helped me, and vote a certain way. So it's just beginning of
why-
the beginning when we were talking about hate only breeds more hate. So that's why it's so much more important for us and all the minorities or anyone who feels this, racist rhetoric going against them,
Right.
to take that and not be like, well, I hate you guys are racist bigots, and start name calling.
Right.
Instead,
Totally.
you gotta fight love with their hate with love.
If somebody punches you, just hug them.
Dude, I will knock them out, bro.
Well, so
Not even hesitate. That 1-2 combo.
so
I mean, it's,
That
not,
I don't
it's
have.
not always easy to show love either, though. That's
yeah,
really
the higher
easy.
ground's always hardest.
It's not easy to take the higher
But that's
ground
how
either.
they talk about all the prophets too. Like, there was
Gandhi.
rocks thrown at them. Gandhi was a dope dude.
So in real time with Bill Maher, leading up to the election, like the last few months, every time when the show would end or begin, he would say, "When they go low, we go high." And like towards the end, how fucking crazy he started to get, he's like, "When they go low, we get higher." Like because he loves weed.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it just gets to there's a point of no hope. So now when they're going that low, go get high, just calm down and
But it is
reevaluate
really-
the situation, I guess.
So it is really hard to fight.
What were
hate
some
with
of the
love.
questions that you had? Did we go through some of them? Or?
Yeah, I brought them all up, bro. I peppered them in
Okay.
with my agenda. My agenda was served.
Was it?
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know what to make of all this.
I don't know. I think
I
we
do.
live in a time where we need to come together, but one side hates the other, or not. No one hates, but there is a certain group that is in
we could
fact
say
racist.
there is hate.
There is
sure.
certainly a demographic amongst the Trump supporters. There are racists. That are these bigots and idiots that are going out there like, I'm going to grab someone's hijab off, or there was one woman that was attacked, and the guy was like, I should grab her by the, and he actually wanted to go and do that, whatever. So there's a lot of people uncomfortable at this point, and like,
It's nerve-wracking.
how does that woman, or how do these people say, oh no, I completely get it, blah blah blah, someone blew this up, and you have a certain thought process against Muslims.
I mean, everyone has the right to say whatever the hell they want, right?
Free speech.
So yeah, we can get aggressive with them. If they ever raise their hand or like attack you, you need to get police involved, and they need to be held accountable, right?
Yeah,
we
you
can't.
let
Or
the
you can
government
disarm
do
them.
Huh?
Or you make them not a threat anymore first.
What do you mean?
I don't know. If somebody's attacking you, you should always defend yourself, no?
Yeah, I'm
No,
not
of
gonna.
course. I'm not saying like
Neutralize.
if they're attacking you, we shouldn't just stand there still. If they're gonna kill you, you gotta defend for your life. Like
Hey,
You're getting punched in the face, getting
Sorry.
ground and pounded, and you have a
Yeah,
cell
like,
phone.
please
You're like,
go.
it's all right, brother. I understand.
I understand your hate.
so Sam
Come at me,
Harris
though.
posted this on Twitter. So there's 325 million Americans. Only 18% vote for Clinton. Only then 18% vote for Trump. 7% are not allowed to vote. 23% of them are under 18. 8% didn't register. 23% registered but didn't vote.
Holy shit!
Wow.
How many registered but didn't vote?
23%.
23%.
on.
No, 23% of the, which is, that might be 23 million right there, actually.
That's 2-3. Jordan conspiracy confirmed.
23 divided by 300.
And the
Jordan's part of the
in
Illuminati.
the
It's
turnout,
like 90 million, dude. isn't it?
It's a hella million.
Isn't
Yeah.
23%
Yeah.
like 90 million? That's a lot of
That's
people.
a lot of millions.
I was gonna say it was, and then also Trump got a lot of uneducated voters too,
For
right?
bunch of-
He had that.
74,750,000 people didn't vote. They registered but did not vote.
That's one voice pretty much. 60
Yeah.
million people that voted for Trump and 60 million people that
But
voted.
more people didn't vote.
Yeah.
And if you count the people under 18,
Because they're
forget the people under 18. We can disregard them.
They
Because
can't even drive.
Matt, I mean, there's 350 million people in the world, then you have to see how many are available
barely.
to vote, and out of those,
well, 36% voted and 23% registered but didn't vote, and then 8% didn't even register.
so I think it's like 1/3 didn't vote, right?
Yeah, basically 1/3 didn't vote. That's a good way to look at
8
it.
plus
36,
20.
36. Yeah, because 36% did vote and 31% basically could have voted and didn't.
Yep, that's shifty, bro.
That's messed up.
You gotta
Or
redo
1/4.
this.
That's not shifty. It's people that just don't care enough.
Because these are the most unpopular. Like, yeah, they got a lot of clicks, but they're.
normally we don't go over 130, 140. You know, maybe
I just got
half.
fact checked.
Yeah.
I don't know. We never get that
Hey,
big of a
man.
participation.
Yeah, like America is not known for their
Big
voter
turnouts.
turnout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got more this time?
No, Hillary, at least from the Democrat side, like I said earlier, Hillary got 6 million less compared to Obama. So the
So
Democrats.
did that 6 million go to Trump or
either
didn't vote?
It's most likely, we can say,
I think they just didn't really vote.
I think most of it is upset Bernie fans that didn't
Right.
vote.
But remember,
But they
Obama.
voted. That is a vote. Now look what happened. Trump.
Right, but the Obama numbers were spectacularly high. Like, that was a big turnout for an election compared to the previous
I
election.
think so, yeah, because he had the black vote that doesn't vote for the white man that's been running the country. So they came out in historic rates and obviously voted for a change for the first black president.
Yeah.
It's I don't know.
It's a travesty. It's a travesty that we all have to live with.
We're gonna wake up tomorrow and we're like, damn, is this still happening? Is this
Yeah.
real? Like, we're gonna see him in TV even way more than we did while he was running for it.
Yo, didn't Donald Trump essentially run for president because Barack Obama kind of shat on him at the dinner?
Did you saw that video?
Yeah.
That has to be a joke.
Dude, I
no,
mean,
that was real.
he's vengeful.
Yeah,
He-
and
and-
Seth Meyers in that same dinner made fun of him as well about
Yeah,
running for president.
there you
And he
go.
also apologized.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, so what did they learn? You don't talk shit to Donald Trump.
Yeah,
He's like, he basically got Obama's job in 2 years.
yeah, pretty much right. And what's
Yeah.
crazy is his wife. What's her name?
Melania,
Melania. Or
I think.
Melania.
Melania.
she's gonna be the first lady. Who the hell in her right mind from Slovakia?
I guess she's just gonna go on some issues. Yeah.
Isn't she
Yeah, but
Russian?
I'm
I kind of
saying-
feel good for her. Her life really.
Yeah, just she's the first lady. She was born in this country. Oh, what is it? Yugoslavia, where she came from, Slavia.
She looks Eastern European to me, but I'm not sure.
But she was born there, came to America to model. Did
Yeah,
she ever
yeah,
in
she
her
was a model.
right
Yeah.
mind think she's gonna be the first lady of the biggest
Hey,
powerful
man,
country in
she-
the world? Like, holy shit!
She's from
She took a step up.
Slovenia.
making moves.
Slovenia.
Yeah, there we go. It's
Slovenia?
insane. That's mind boggling on its own.
Yeah.
I just remember when that whole that video came out with the whole Pussygate thing, like, and I got that word from Bill Maher. He
Yeah,
always talks about
pussy.
he's like, it's a big incident. You gotta say it. How they have like what's the other gate?
Watergate.
Watergate or
What's
something.
that other
There's another
gate?
gate too, I think.
Watergate.
Gamergate.
Golden
That was,
Gate.
that was pretty big.
No, like
No,
yeah, there is a Golden Gate, but something in
Golden
too politics.
There is a bridge.
But anyway, he calls it Pussygate, and they were making fun of how when Melania finally came out, I think 2 weeks after, to talk about that video that was released, and they were asking her, what was your reaction to all that? And then at one point she's like, yeah, it was just two teenager boys in a locker room just having a locker room talk. Like, teenager, your husband's 59. She's like, yeah, boys. He
Yeah,
was 59. Like, he's not even a grown man. He's a grandpa.
Yeah.
Like, why is he having these talks? And then she didn't know what to say. It was so funny. You should look at that video when you have time.
She runs away.
Yeah, they're just boys. Man,
Yeah.
he was 59 when that happened.
Sitting there talking about
So-
grabbing people. What the hell is wrong with
Assaulting, not assaulting, dude. That's
that? Yeah, no, grabbing is assaulting, man.
yeah.
You guys want some numbers? I got some numbers.
Yeah.
as expected. Whoa.
Number.
Trump did best among white voters without a college degree, beating Clinton by the enormous margin of 72% to 23%. Trump has also won among white non-college women, 62. So non-college people just threw this up in the air, bro. And white college-educated men, 54 to 30. Well, if you're educated, you kind of. Among white voters, Clinton only won among women with a college degree by 51 to 45% margin.
Interesting.
Interestingly, glad you said that word. Among white voters, there's no evidence in the exit poll that income affected the likelihood that they supported Trump.
So basically, just put everyone through college.
Yeah. Information, right? End of the day, it'll always come down to information. The more you know.
I bet those people are like really, really offended by those last comments.
What information?
Yeah.
Yeah, because people who didn't go to college doesn't mean they're not. It's smart.
Yeah,
But
of
it
course.
does come down to that, right? I'm sure that they are offended, but I'm just saying. I mean, what else can fix the problem if not the information?
But dude, you're learning like orgo,
I mean, it's
organic
information. I guess
chemistry.
it's the right information.
You gotta learn about life.
Right. So
bro.
whatever they believe.
Yeah, when you learn about organic chemistry, you're not really
Like,
learning
dude,
about right
you're
or wrong.
stressed out, man. You're making hexagons and shit. You're not thinking about.
No,
You're not woke.
When we were talking about earlier,
You're getting woke, you just don't know it.
when you were talking earlier, we were saying that the media should be on factual and truth basis, right?
No,
So-
I mean, I guess information. Of course, you're right, dude. That your point, your like overall point is very on point. Does that make sense?
Okay,
but
here's-
I just saying, like, I guess it just seems to me that they are getting information. They're online. With going into college, I guess it would have changed them because when you go to college, you meet a lot more like liberals.
diversity.
Well, you meet a lot of like liberals. If you go to any college campus in the U.S.,
that.
except a Christian college, probably it's just a bunch of liberals. I had a friend leave Mizzou because he thought it was too liberal of a place, and his parents wanted him to go to. He was just kind of like a farm boy, and his parents wanted him to go to a Christian school. And he's a really smart kid. He ended up becoming a doctor. But
Snap.
right.
Here's some cool numbers.
Well, I have a response to that, but go ahead.
No, I'll respond first.
No, so what I'm saying is, I'm not. You're absolutely right. They are getting information, right, and they can argue that they also are getting information, so forth, whatever. But what I'm trying to say is, whenever I get information, or whenever anyone gets to a certain point of level of information, you should always continue to keep going higher, right? As soon as you settle for this is it, now you're gonna be in that territory where
There
you won't
is-
be open to ideas. So if you,
yeah, you should always have an open mind.
There's
Right.
no absolute truth.
Yeah, so to respond to that, yeah, they are getting information, but they need to keep growing and getting more information. And when you do that, I think that formula should always work, where you always land to the more better truth of whatever we're talking.
Maybe
or
we have the
debating
wrong
about.
information in some ways too.
Sure.
Right.
In the sense that maybe because I mean we only have so much time to read into this stuff.
Absolutely.
we all have jobs. You have a family. We all are basically doing our own things all the time. We spend a certain amount of time in politics. For the most part, we're going to read mainstream sources. They're probably lying to us. Let's say 90% of the time they lie to us, and we only catch it like 50% of the time. So 40%, you know what I mean? Half that time that we're doing it, we're actually, assuming that what they're telling us is true, and our own brains are getting washed. And maybe we don't know the information that they know, why
So
they feel
easy.
like what
But
they
for,
feel.
for the record, those percentages you said are all theoretical, right?
Well, I think the media lies to us.
'Cause when
Like
you
crazy.
say-
Remember, I started this.
I'm not disagreeing with you that they don't, but those percentages are.
Theoretical. Yeah, they are.
You're just taking an educated guess of these would be the percentages. If
No, okay,
uneducated.
it doesn't matter at what scale we're being brainwashed. The whole point is that we're also being brainwashed.
no, I agree.
I mean,
There
obviously,
you
I don't
go.
know the scale of it. I was just putting a number out there.
Here's some numbers.
He's like dying.
Okay, so when
We're
it
being
came,
brainwashed.
He really wants his job.
I like
You
this
win,
job.
dude.
Thank you.
This is not my thing.
Here's
More
some
of a-
numbers. How many facts I brought? No, I'm kidding. So another factor that we're all talking about, Clinton not being seen as an honest person. That's big to a lot of people, especially like the white voters. This was a huge margin. Okay, so both candidates were not seen as being honest or trustworthy by more than 6 out of 10 voters. However, among white voters, 57% said Trump was not honest and trustworthy, while a fully 70% said the same of Clinton. So huge percentage more thought that Clinton was not an honest and trustworthy person. So of course you're not going to vote for someone you can't trust. Almost 3 in 10 white voters said neither candidate was honest and trustworthy. Among this group, Trump won 52% to Clinton's 32%.
Damn.
I wonder if you can get numbers on that before the whole email scandal and after. I mean, was it the email scandal that just
Yeah,
blew it out?
the last one, like we talked about earlier, did do a definite big damage. But yeah, if the email scandal wasn't there, I think she would have probably won. Because that did do his damage. Because there are things that came into light, that whole taking money from Wall Street and all those speeches that they gave and so forth. That did, I think.
Also, she was like against weed, against marijuana legislation. It just seemed like she was just such a bought out candidate. Like it just seemed that she was, like, money was such a big part of.
I
who
think
she
they
was.
all are like that, man. But
I know, but she just seems to be such a representation of everything that people hate about.
Yeah, she'd
politics.
be on the top tier of that corruption.
Exactly. I'm not saying other people are not like that, but she seemed to represent everything that people were kind of.
She's okay
already,
with it.
Yeah, it's like she represents no change at all. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are willing to go backwards and change rather than just stay neutral.
Last factor, we were talking
And
about
Benghazi.
last factor we were talking about did third parties affect this this campaign? So Gary Johnson and Jill Stein may have impacted the overall results. The exit polling asked voters they would have cast ballots for if there were only 2 candidates, Clinton and Trump. A quarter of Johnson voters said Clinton, 15% said Trump, so more for Clinton. 55% said they would not have voted. Numbers were similar for Stein voters, with about a quarter saying they would have chosen Clinton, 14% saying Trump, and 61% saying they would not have voted. So,
Interesting.
definitely.
That's a really high percentage of people that said that they wouldn't vote. It's
'Cause,
kind of
dude,
interesting.
People more people might have turned out, whatever. But these two, a lot of people I heard were saying that neither of them really aligned with their own beliefs. Like they were both.
All right, what did Hillary Clinton stand for, anyways? If you really think about it,
Breaking the glass.
We know
ceiling.
she stood for war.
yeah, I guess the first woman president is probably the only thing I can, hang on. But even that is we just had the first black president. We don't need the first anything for a while.
We've done enough first for a minute.
No, I mean, I'm joking, obviously, but it just seems like, what does she really inspire in people? Like, did she inspire something in people that really? I mean, at least Trump was like, all right, we're gonna
said something really good yesterday, where he almost it was in tears when he was saying it. It was awesome, right? I think did I share it?
Yeah.
Where he was saying that this should inspire women going forward. This should be your fire that's going to make you
so much better to be the first of anything.
Yeah. So
that was a good message.
Use this as because of this, it's gonna inspire some girl to be the kick-ass president that we need, and because of this, it's gonna motivate someone, drive their fire and ego. As he was saying it, he was thinking of his own daughter, and then he just got his eyes watering.
Yeah,
and
I would say I kind of wanted a
female.
female president. That's probably my only thing with Hillary. I thought it would have been cool.
He got upset because his mom, I believe, was a big Hillary supporter, and she apparently it was a joke,
And-
but
and
she
her name was
changed her
Hillary.
name was Hillary, and before that she was Obama apparently for 8 years. But
I think, and the fact that she wanted to see a woman president before possibly dying.
Yeah, there are certain people out there that really just want to see that. And let's be real, women couldn't vote in America not too long ago.
That's
we're talking
insane.
about
We
So, the opportunity that we had was, well, we got another white guy. Let's do it. But he's atheist. He's a businessman. He's not a lawyer.
Allegedly.
What?
Yeah, and for sure by his acts.
Yeah, he's not a God-fearing man.
You might believe in a guy, just doesn't fear him.
He doesn't drink alcohol, which is very interesting, or do any drugs.
who?
Really?
Really?
Because his brother was an alcoholic, I think, too.
Oh.
And that's how he passed away.
I don't know. There were some comedians talking about that. I think on Bill Maher, and some comedian was like, "I don't trust somebody who's not able to just get loose."
Yeah, that is a very strange character trait.
Yeah.
I always see say that about straight edge people.
Yeah.
But then again, I know a bunch of people who don't do any drugs.
They're weirdos.
Mainly in my family.
Weirdos.
I guess
Just
they
troll.
deal with life in their own way. But
I
being
think
able to let loose is pretty important too.
yeah, I
You
think
don't
you
have
pretty
to do
much
drugs to let loose.
Yeah, you gotta have your own medium. You gotta find that.
Yeah, you could just dance a lot, I guess.
Working out is a drug for me.
Working out, yeah, sure.
Playing music.
Meditation,
Z, you were saying something and I cut you
I
off.
forgot.
making raps.
No, I was saying that I think that was a main point that you said, that what did Hillary really stand for, and
Like, what is she inspiring you?
nothing. So like Bernie
Email
Sanders
servers.
and Donald Trump actually had a movement. She just ran a campaign.
Yeah.
A
Who do you
normal political
know
campaign.
that was gonna like stick with Hillary at the primary? It was just like she was just being pushed on us so badly, and I keep going back to it. Like, why, you assholes? Why did you have to push her? You know, there's like a lot of people that follow politics and stuff. They're like, you know, and then I was looking at the media bias because I'm like a media nerd, and I was like really noticing all these people that were just not mentioning the truth about her. You know, like even like Jon Stewart and those kind of people. One thing that like pisses me off, because you know I'm like the biggest Jon Stewart fan in the world. But even Seth Meyers, they don't talk about what's wrong with like Hillary. They were so scared that Trump was going to get into power. I think.
I disagree.
Yeah.
I've seen Seth Meyers do some really good pieces of what is wrong.
He'll
always
make a joke or two, but he won't seriously go into it.
No, I did. I've seen detailed ones where he does break it down, and then they have to sum it up by saying,
Trump sucks.
With all being said, this is absolutely wrong. There's a lot of times where they said it, but still, this doesn't not even come close to what Trump is representing. You know, So you're wrong. I've seen their fair share.
I'm wrong. It might be, but I don't know. I don't.
But there are other outlets that haven't. Seth Meyers has. That's what I'm trying to say.
You're defending Seth Meyers.
Yeah.
He's cool. I like him, but I just don't.
This was
I don't know. I've just seen a lot of pieces where I thought he wasn't. I feel like they're not really going for the truth. They're going for the truth to a point where they think they still need to influence you. You know. So they're like, all right, we like want to be truthful, but if we're too truthful, then people might go for Trump.
You're probably right in the point where when she was facing Bernie, they probably weren't doing it. But when it became Hillary versus Trump, they were doing it.
So they were going after Hillary, or you mean they were doing the bias?
They were okay because they were trying to reach out to the Trump crowd by saying she did all this crazy shit, you know. But
yeah.
It still doesn't make any sense to go, you know. Then he would talk about everything that Trump did.
Yeah, I think more when it happened against Bernie.
Isn't it crazy that didn't Bernie Sanders like literally march with Martin Luther King?
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
fact.
he did.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Okay, so listen to
Our
this.
fact checker confirmed his
Dude,
statement.
I can only do one tab at a time. I'm getting tired. Okay. Mr. Sanders fought Ms. Clinton to draw among white voters, exit polls showed. But he was trounced amongst non-whites who cast 4 in 10 votes. The decisive edge for Ms. Clinton, she won more African Americans by more than 50 percentage points. What?
Yeah, I remember
Over Bernie Sanders?
Yeah.
I remember that
It's
being a
kinda funny.
point that he wasn't getting enough black votes in certain areas. But then they were talking about that's just weird. Like, to your point, he's marched with
75.9% voted for
All right,
Clinton.
check out my weird political theory. See,
Hit me.
Bernie Sanders didn't have the Democratic machine with him, right? So even though he had a grassroots movement going, he didn't have that machine that works. So there's this machine out there that gets people to vote. It knows all the big people in like every community. He didn't have that machine, right? But Donald Trump, the Republican Party, did use their machine to help him. So that's why he got over Hillary, and that's why Bernie couldn't. Because he didn't have a machine working. He was literally independent people. Like volunteers, man. Like if you were actually looking at his like supporters, just random volunteers just helping out, calling people and stuff. Yeah, but they didn't have a machine. So even though they did their best, they didn't have the machine.
They got pretty damn close, right?
Yeah, they got pretty damn close, you know.
This is crazy.
But if he won, then he would have had the Democratic machine with him because they would have made sure he won.
They would have destroyed Trump.
Then they would have destroyed Trump with that and plus that. Right?
Yeah.
But with Trump on his own, Trump on his own couldn't do it either.
Yeah.
But once that machine of the Republicans stepped in with him, he defeated like Hillary.
Yeah.
No one wanted her.
But
This came to me.
Here's another crazy thing. He lost Democratic Party members by close to 30 percentage points. It's hard to win Democratic nomination without winning Democrats. Independents, though, accounted for fewer than 1/4 of the votes, but independents won 63.3%, Sanders 34.3%, Clinton. Democrats, Clinton wiped the floor with Sanders, so you're so right that it wasn't working for Sanders. You know, Democrats were not on Sanders' side. Clinton with 63.7% of the
they were
vote.
trying to bet on the winning horse.
35.5.
That's gonna make sure she gets elected and that they get elected. They stay in their seats. That whole business as usual stays, right? You just have to bet
The people
on
in power want to stay in power.
Yeah, so you got to bet on a horse that will keep things the way they are.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. And to your point earlier, that's what is rigged. They were all pawns in making sure that he didn't get that far
Yeah,
ahead.
and then they all kind of screwed us though.
Yeah,
with
but
their
that's why
interest.
these protests are important to show them that this movement is coming. With or without them, it's gonna happen. You can, or maybe you could. I hope not. But I think sooner or later, these young they show like the United States map, and they showed all the young voters. It was pretty much all blue for this election because they are better rational thinkers. They're not, they do have maybe a lot more curiosity that the older generation has that's gone, that the old 60s America that they want back.
Here's a crazy number. So when it comes to age groups between Clinton and Sanders, ages 17 to 29 that now make up ages 17 to 29 went 71.6% for Sanders, 27.8% for Clinton. So the young group of people were so much behind Sanders, definitely a movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
ages 65 and older, 71.3 Hillary, 26.5
I think the
Bernie.
Democrats, they didn't realize that
Bernie's
this was
65 and older.
this was an election of anti-establishment,
Yeah.
and they just stuck with the establishment.
Yeah,
And
backfired.
and Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders that had the populace going were anti-establishment. They screwed up.
I want to be hopeful, and in closing comments, we can say that everything does work out. Maybe this is the spark that sparks the curiosity back in everyone. That everyone's like, holy crap! How do we get to this point where our level of thinking, half of our country is thinking like this? Where is the disconnect? And then it should be everyone's job to help inform others and make sure even our family members, friends, the things that they're saying are the factual. Fact checking them, helping them, guiding them to being a better human being, if you will. I hope we go that route rather than fighting hate with hate, because that is going to be a disaster. It's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to hold us back more. So maybe this negativity could be the spark to bring a lot of positivity. I don't know, just trying to be optimistic.
Yeah, I hope so. That's got to be the hope, that this is the spark, like you said, that gets them off, and they realize that, hey, they got to actually, a lot of that large percentage that didn't even vote.
Yeah.
Maybe they will realize that their vote does count, that they need to get out there. And even furthermore, now we've got 4 years with Trump. So what can we do as just everyday people? Can we still go out and support organizations that are working every day to support,
us,
to protect our rights and whatever, because there are organizations like that.
Yeah.
So we can support those organizations so they can work for us.
Right. No, that's a really good point, because biggest problem besides information is also money. You're right. We got to get the damn money out of the politics. That's also what's poisoning the system, because then the greed and the power is in play. Then it's just like Sam Sarah, right? And I feel like even if we do take it out and we fix it, then somehow it's always going to get to that negative point, and it's going to always have to restart. But hopefully it's not to the point where it's too late. I hope we don't do some dramatic changes. Like, I think you were telling me that, Hasban, that he's saying that he's gonna want every Muslim to register. Like,
yeah,
how do you do that, man?
The thing is that I read that news article in the New York Times, and I couldn't kind of believe it. But the fact that it was on the New York Times, I'm still I got to double fact check that, because most of the news that I've been hearing is that his plans are not as crazy as we think. And then that was a big one. That one kind of threw me for a loop when I read that. It was on the New York Times that he's proposing a ban for. He basically said that that could be an option.
Yeah. Okay. I see.
So somebody was asking him, I said, that could be an option.
Yeah.
And then they asked him how he would do it, and he was like, I would be, they asked him details, but he didn't want to give too much details.
He never does.
And then, but there's people like Ben Carson in his, by the way, Ben Carson is a neurosurgeon.
That's the most bizarre thing.
And they always make the distinction that a neurosurgeon is not a neuroscientist. So a neurosurgeon is more like not to sound offensive, but he's like a car mechanic,
You can
but
fix it.
on the body. So they're not scientists.
But
So-
all doctors have to. Actually, I can kind of see what you're saying. I have a lot of friends who are doctors. I'm sure they're amazing at what they do, but they don't seem to know the shit. They don't need. They don't seem to know shit outside their own bubble.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're into science or they know physics.
Exactly.
They probably know how to do the formulas and stuff, but
Right.
they don't know the.
They
principles.
know how to make a human survive.
Yeah.
The biology of that, but they're going deeper with that science.
This is
That's
crazy
a good
how
point.
educated he must be in his own way to be a fucking chill. He's a child a neurosurgeon, right? So he operates on kids actually.
Damn,
Doesn't he have like a picture with him and like Jesus chilling?
Yeah, that's some funny ass shit.
he got it painted. But any closing comments?
I hope love can trump hate.
Do you guys want to hear really
Some
quick
hate.
the things he said that he would do in his first 100 days?
Closing comments, Hasban.
Yeah, so just there's like 3 major things that he said that he would do. There's
Can I
like a
say
lot
it?
more things.
Bro, I swear if Ali goes down that same rabbit hole one more time.
He said first
Amazing, guys.
propose a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on all members of Congress. I kind of like that. Second, a hiring freeze on all federal employees to reduce federal workforce through attrition, exempting military, public safety. So federal jobs, might be in trouble. Third, a requirement that for every new federal regulation, two existing regulations must be eliminated. Doesn't sound too crazy. I mean, I kind of get.
I mean, he always
Hasban's turning into a Trump supporter.
he also
Fourth-
said he wants to deregulate a lot of regulations on companies. So that's kind of scary as well. So he
Depends on the. I don't like
Industry.
too much regulation either. But fourth, a 5-year ban on White House and congressional officials becoming lobbyists after they leave the government. Doesn't sound too bad. 6, a complete ban on foreign lobbyists raising money for American elections.
You think that's gonna happen?
Hmm.
If that happens, that'd be awesome. We'll see, man.
Then there's some other stuff like, okay, do you guys know what the TPP is? The Trans-Pacific Partnership. It's
Yeah.
something
Oh,
that
yeah.
Hillary Clinton was for, and if you read Reddit and stuff, they say it's
He wants
a
to
big
reverse that,
corporate.
right?
Yeah, so he said he was going to withdraw from it. Third, I will direct my Secretary of the Treasury to label China a currency manipulator. He's going to withdraw from NAFTA,
Wow.
Jeez.
foreign trade abuses. Now, this is, I mean, not,
my
but
God.
then also the coal thing. I will lift the restrictions on the production of $15 trillion worth of job producing American energy reserves, including shale, oil, natural gas, and clean coal.
Freaking wonderful. Fossil fuels.
But he
It's
said
genius.
this. He said this at the end of October, so this was his first 100-day plan, and he's going to repeal Obamacare and all
How
that.
about
But,
not do that?
the term
fossil
limits part and term limits part seems to be a good thing because.
That might not matter after climate change gets.
Yeah, dude. That's the most important
But term
thing.
limits is also important to the idea of climate
Yeah.
change because these people
Then
who
won't be,
these
won't
old
be on there
farts,
longer.
Yeah, just stay there forever, man. Goddamn.
People, we still have a voice. We need to make sure climate change is taken seriously. Like, honestly. Like,
We just got to play the system to change the system, I guess. So
let's
Yeah,
go
I mean,
out.
you guys
Vote-
went cynical.
voice.
I was just gonna say, like, you guys, that everybody should actually try to understand where people are coming from, and not just fucking think everyone's racist and shit. Hey,
Exactly.
maybe they are a little racist. Maybe things
don't
happen
think-
to them in their life that
I don't think we said that. We said, there's
I guess not in this podcast, but I just guess what I'm seeing from even people who were protesting yesterday. They were saying it. They're like, people who voted for Trump are racist. I've actually seen that openly. People
Oh,
have said that.
yeah. All over the place. And that's just not the sole case.
Yeah, so it comes down to priorities. So there are some that are not racist, but voted on the priorities that are affecting
That's
them.
what I
It could
don't
be
like,
Economy,
though.
it could be NAFTA, it could be whatever, right? So not all of them are racist, but majority of them.
Jobs
the local
are
ones
always
are.
the biggest thing, guys. I feel like we're getting not we as the people in the podcast, but people forget that like jobs, money. That's what
Everything.
people
That's
need.
how he
Man.
won
How
Michigan.
people survive. People need
Food
money.
and water.
But don't forget the title of this podcast, Cosmic Perspective.
Yeah. So all we can hope is
How
that
did you guys say mind high? I was like, wait, what? It's not called. I'm pretty
No,
sure.
just this episode.
Oh, okay.
That's what it's going to be called.
no. So yeah, we can end it on that note that hopefully everyone reaches a good cosmic perspective, and that's what's going to change.
And
the
there's a lot of
future.
worse things that can happen, right?
Love Trump,
Yeah.
hate. Love
Yeah.
Trump,
I mean,
hate.
things can
Like
all
like the Black Plague.
Everyone listening, chant
things
it.
could be things could be always worse. So relative, it's all. Then
And
also goes back down to relative.
And we're gonna find out
yeah,
firsthand.
yeah.
Let's do it, guys. Let's fucking ride
This was
this
like
wave.
a closing
Let's go.
epilogue. Then
Cosmic perspective on 3, 1, 2.
Take off my headphones.
cosmic, okay.
Mind high.
Cosmic perspective.
Let's get high.
All right, guys. Cheers.
Thank you for tuning in.